This episode of Popcorn Poops is brought to you by Audible.com. Please visit audibletrial.com/popcornpoops for a 30-day trial of their audiobook subscription service. When you sign up, you'll even receive a free audiobook that's yours to keep whether or not you continue with Audible after your trial has expired. That's audibletrial.com/popcornpoops for your free audiobook.
We are the Popcorn Poops. Welcome to Popcorn Poops, the best married couple movie podcast / commentary track hybrid audio program on the internet. My name is Dustin, and right next to me on this super comfy sofa is my wife, Jessica.
Hi.
Hi there. How are you doing?
I'm okay.
How are you feeling?
Grad school's hard.
Is it? Oh, yeah. Well, guess what? This episode's late. So, shocker. This has been kind of a rough, well, it's a semester for you, of course.
Semester.
But this has been a rough past few months for the podcast, I think.
Well, foreseeably within the next month, then I will be out for the summer. So
that's right.
At least it'll stop being my fault if the podcast is late.
Yes, then it'll be 100% my fault instead of only 50% my fault. I don't know. 25% my fault. Let's say it's
30%. 30%.
All right, let's call it 30. 30% my fault when the podcast is late, but it's mostly, let's be real, it's mostly your fault, right? But that's okay. We're all very sympathetic to your needs as a college student. So we'll let it slide this time.
And professor.
And professor. As always, you can find us on our website at popcornpoops.com. You can subscribe to us on iTunes or Stitcher. That's where you can get the show. You can also follow us on Twitter. We have individual Twitters. Actually, our podcast Twitter is at popcornpoops, of course, but our individual Twitters, I'm at Dusty Cram Cram.
I'm at J. Casper Kramer.
You can also like our Facebook page, and on our social media, that's where you're going to find all the updates about our show, including our weekly movie still identification game. We do have a shop, a merch shop, where you can buy some things and some stuff if you want to show your
Poop ride.
Poop ride. That's right. This should be a hashtag. Show your poop ride or hashtag poop ride. And if you just want to give us straight up raw ass cash, just them greenbacks, there's a donate button on the website if that's a thing that you like to do. This month, we have a very interesting month in what was anticipation, now certainly... we haven't seen it yet. We haven't seen.
If we had time and money,
and we're probably just not going to see it in theaters. At this point.
Well, not at this point now.
No, but Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice. That's why we did our hashtag World's Finest Month, which is the theme of this month. And today, to wrap up World's Finest Month, we'll be tackling the prequel to Batman v Superman, and that is, of course, Zack Snyder's 2013 film, Man of Steel. If you want to sync up this podcast with the movie, as you can do with all of our episodes, you're going to want to go ahead and play the movie and then press pause as soon as the vanity card for syncope or syncope, I'm not sure exactly how to pronounce it, but you'll know it when you see it. When that fades to black or just kind of disappears to black, as soon as that happens, press pause and that'll get you ready and synced up. While you're doing that, I would have Jessica read you an iTunes review or a Stitcher review that we received, but
we don't have one.
We don't have one. We don't fucking have one.
There's not a new one.
I don't know what to say other than we don't have one. And
now you got to listen to Dustin bitch about it.
Why don't you bitch about it this time?
I'm too tired to bitch about anything. Do I bitch at my students when they don't turn in assignments? No, not at this point. It's the end of the semester.
Swear to God, I was just about to say, it's because you're a professor, isn't it? That's why you're too tired to bitch about not having an iTunes or Stitcher review to read. Well, if you want to leave us an iTunes or Stitcher review, we would really appreciate it. We want you to be honest in your review if you don't think we deserve 5 stars. And don't give us 5 stars, but just know that we really do like 5 stars. And if you leave us a review, regardless of the star rating, we will read it on the show. And that's what you would be hearing right now instead of this.
I mean, you said some cuckoo stuff last week.
I definitely did. And I mean, that's just the tip of the proverbial iceberg. And if you want me to say some other crazy shit or Jessica to say some crazy shit, then leave us a review and we'll say the crazy shit that you write in the review. So without further ado, we're going to get to the movie. Sinkers, press play at the beat after the countdown. Ready? 3, 2, 1. And here we go.
Man of Steel.
Man of Steel.
Well,
this is going to be a hard 2.5 hours.
We thought last week was hard because it was long. But we liked that movie.
We do like that movie. That movie is still a moderately solid B in my book of Superman Returns, of course, 2006, Bryan Singer film.
And then after rewatching this one for, in research for the podcast, it made me realize how much I really love Superman Returns.
I wouldn't say I love it, but I definitely appreciate it more. I appreciate the levity in it. I appreciate the colors. I appreciate the performances that aren't all like this. I'm the Superman. He's not quite that bad, but yeah, this movie is.
I appreciate that they hired people who could write.
No shit. Oh my God, there is some doo-doo dialogue in this movie.
Oh man, it's bad.
It is just full of like shitty dialogue that just flies right under the radar.
So who's the writer on this? David S.
Goyer. Welcome back to the podcast, writer of such films as Arcade. Are we surprised?
Oh, okay.
Are we fucking surprised? Like this is the guy this is the guy that when we did our Arcade episode a couple of months ago, I was like, I think he's a bad screenwriter. I'm sorry. He's very successful, but this is a guy who got his start with Full Moon Entertainment, writing movies for.
And as much as I love Full Moon Entertainment,
writing movies for good old Charlie Band, writing shit like Doll Man.
And I'm not joking. I love Full Moon Entertainment.
Yes, but in a very specific way.
Yeah. And not in the way where you pay those people like millions of dollars or whatever to do anything with what they're doing.
I don't want Charles Band or Albert Pune directing my Superman movie. And on the same token, I don't want fucking David S. Goyer writing anything.
I realized
except for maybe Dollman 3. That's fine.
That's fine. We need more Dollman. If you haven't seen Dollman, then you probably should make that a priority in your life.
It's hilarious. It's pretty hilarious.
It's pretty much everything you think it is right now that's in your head.
It is. Yeah, they don't bury the lead. It's called Dollman, and guess what it's about.
But anyways, though, I was looking up some other stuff when I was looking up David S. Goyer, and I realized that he wrote like on his website, he's got like links to scripts and stuff, screenplays that he's done. And so I was looking through, I was like, oh, I'll read a bit of one of his screenplays. Maybe it just doesn't translate well. and so I saw he had done at least the pilot and a couple episodes for Da Vinci's Demons. Have you seen any of that show?
No. What is that? Is that like Ancient Aliens? Is that a
No. Like it's Da Vinci, but like fantasy.
Oh God.
And so of course, because that would be in my realm of like things I would watch.
Is this a Tumblr thing?
I don't know.
Do people make fan art of this on Tumblr?
I don't know, but I remember he has like a leather jacket or something that I thought was the most hilarious thing in the whole world because I was tweeting about it when I watched the first episode last summer sometime. And it was awful. It was a really bad show. And I don't know if they've canceled it yet or not. I'm guessing they have because it was awful. But anyway, so I was reading through some of the screenplay, and no, it's just as bad as on paper.
All right,
as it is,
as expected.
On TV.
We are in what is, and it is, all of this is arguable, but this is arguably the best part of this movie. This is the segment on Krypton.
Oh, kind of like in Thor, where the best part of Thor is not on Earth.
Yeah, well, yeah, and then they made a movie about that whole place, and it was better, but it was just kind of
still kind of eh.
I know a lot of people like Thor: The Dark World. I don't know. It's fine, I guess.
Yeah, fine.
It's
fine.
It's not the big dumb fantasy movie I need it to be.
Yeah.
And it wants to be. It really wants to be that movie.
Yeah, they tried. I think they tried, but it wasn't quite
there. But this is Krypton by way of James Cameron and also Thor. Like that's what I feel like this Krypton is it looks like Avatar and the production design from like Thor 2, especially, Asgard. We got Russell Crowe. Welcome back to the podcast, Russell Crowe, Gladiator himself. Looking looking like Russell Crowe and acting as such.
So this episode, because I was terrified we would have nothing to say whatsoever, is probably going to be filled with a lot of like Easter eggs and references and things like that.
Lots of trivia and lots of us saying, what the fuck, why the what?
Because
why?
this movie is just full of Easter eggs and stuff. So some stuff I was interested, so I was looking it up. I thought the creatures looked cool on Krypton here.
Yeah.
So I was looking up the creatures because I'm like, I bet these are real creatures.
I bet they have names.
And they do.
Yep.
So the cray creatures that are walking around,
cray. Them creatures.
the ones who are like grazing.
Yeah.
In the beginning, the big ones, they're called
space cows.
Rondor beasts. If that's how you say it.
They totally stole that from Star Wars. There's a creature called a Rondo that the Jawas like to ride.
Man, but there is some nutty stuff in Superman mythology that's out there. Here are some great names of some creatures you might come across on Krypton and in other versions of Superman. There's a thought beast.
Ah.
And a fish snake.
Ah, yes.
And a balloony.
Oh.
Which is like the same name as those little things that you blow up.
Little stinky
that I love. That me and my brother love.
Chemical balloons.
Yeah, where like it's made out of like a gel, and you've got to blow them up yourself.
You've got to put a little dab on the end of a tiny cocaine straw, and you blow it up, and like it smells terrible. It smells just like straight chemicals, like acetone or some shit. And you know for a fact that if you like inhale. Like after you blow your balloon up, if you inhale, you're probably getting high.
And
I've never tried that. If you've gotten high off balloonies before,
please let us know.
Please write into the podcast. We want to know.
Me and my brother, we love those balloonies.
I bet you did.
And we were like high school, college age when we were banging our mom at the grocery store to buy them for us.
Oh my God! I'm sorry. I thought you just said banging our mom.
What? Why?
I don't know. That's what I heard.
Whatever. Anyway, so other names would be the Kryptonian dog. That's a good one.
Oh, original.
And the non-breathing beast.
You mean the dead animal? That's what we call that on Earth.
My favorite one that I want to see is the winged cat.
Oh, that's cute. It's like the little dragons from Lunar.
So also these robots in here, they have names too. Do you know that?
I'm sure they do. She calls one of them like Keelor and
there's
Kexcox and
Kellex and Kellor.
Man, that's my favorite.
The male one is Kellex.
The male one.
The female one is Kellor.
Because it has a penis?
Sure.
Is that why? Why are they gendering these floating
Well, they have gendered
pods?
Sounding voices, I guess.
Okay.
But
those are definitely my favorite action figures from Man of Steel is Kellor and Kellogg and what the fuck? What are the
Kellex?
Okay.
But in the mid-'80s, reboot of Superman, Kellex was a Kryptonian AI, formerly belonging to Jor-El. He helped Superman maintain the Fortress of Solitude.
Oh, I care. I care about that. That's so many things. Let's talk about the movie. I've got things that I've totally blown past that I want to talk about from the beginning of this movie. If you want to talk about Easter eggs, how about Easter eggs, calling cards, if you will, from Zack Snyder's earlier film. So we're on Krypton. We learn that they have some kind of natural resource depletion problem, and Jor-El is like, it's too late. The planet's core is unstable. Everybody knows the story. Krypton's going to fucking explode. He says, let's get the fuck out of here. Actually, in this version, he says, we can't get the fuck out of here. But what we need to do is we need to take the codex and send it off into space so that our kind can live on, like the knowledge, the collective knowledge of Kryptonians can live on in another culture or whatever.
And if you're wondering what the codex is, then let's make it clear. It's what is known as a MacGuffin.
Oh yes, yeah, that's right. Yes.
That's what the codex is. So whatever else the codex is, you don't have to give a fuck. You don't have to care. It doesn't matter.
As he's trying to explain this to the High Council of Kryptonians, you've got General Zod, who walks in, played by Michael Shannon, who's doing a great or terrible job. I can't really tell. Michael Shannon's a fucking weird actor. He's done some incredible work. His performance in Take Shelter, fucking unbelievable.
Okay. That's what I know him from.
His performance in this...
I think he's awful in this. I mean, I
Well,
said that, and
okay.
I know you disagree.
Look
but
at the Apocalypse Now shot. Also borrowed by J.J. Abrams in Star Wars: The Force Awakens, so I can't give him too much shit about it. But that's what that was. But I don't know. Like I kind of equate his performance in this in a way, the way I feel about it, to like Vincent D'Onofrio's performance in Daredevil as Wilson Fisk, Kingpin.
Okay, yeah.
Where I'm so compelled by it, but I can't tell you if it's a good performance or kind of a bad
Kind
one.
of shitty. No, I still feel that way about Fisk, but the thing about Fisk is that I'm so fucking in love with that character, and then vicariously through that performance. Like I
think I've come around to feel like D'Onofrio's performance in Daredevil is brilliant.
Yes, I think it's brilliant. I think it's brilliant.
He's so off-putting and it's so deliberate. And the thing about it is it's consistent.
It is consistently off-putting.
It is consistently off-putting in exactly the same way.
And he's such a strange character.
Yeah.
It's such a strange character to understand that having kind of a weird performance makes sense to me. It doesn't make sense for me for Zod to have this weird performance. That doesn't make any sense to me.
So Zod walks in trying to stage a coup and do something. What is exactly he's trying to do? The planet's going to explode anyway. But he agrees with Jor-El. That's the thing, is that he knows that the planet's going to explode. I guess he wants to try to get off the planet. Maybe he thinks that they can get off the planet. I guess that's the impression that I get. And as soon as he walks in, Jor-El turns around and he's like, "Zod, what is this? This is madness." And all I could think of...
Which is a reference to 300.
That's all I could think of was 300.
Yeah.
All I wanted him to say is like, "Madness, this is Krypton," and then kick him off the fucking edge of the thing.
Yeah. And there's another reference to 300. The Spartans is the name of the local high school football team or whatever.
I thought you were going to say Henry Cavill's abs.
The Smallville Spartans.
I thought you were going to say Henry Cavill's physique for sure was the
I
reference
got it. I got
to
the
300.
joke.
Okay. All right. If that's how we're going to be. All right.
Yeah, no, I don't know why what's going on. I don't know why people are fighting each other. I don't know why this movie needed a world blowing up and a war at the same time. I don't know why that all needed to happen, because to be honest, like
because if it's busy enough, it will distract you from how dumb it is,
from how dumb the story is,
how pointless all of this shit is. Like none of this matters. This planet's going to explode, and the fact that it explodes means nothing, because they've got this new plot point in here where they have colonized a whole bunch of planets, like with these colonization pods that we don't find out until maybe they mentioned something about it in this opening scene. Maybe
they say we know there are planets that we can live on
because
out
of this
there.
colonization thing, but because of that, they kind of get away with, and 1978 Superman gets away with a little bit too. But they get away with killing Jor-El, Superman's father, but still having him be a character that does a lot of shit in this movie. Like he does shit and he talks to several different people, interacts with people. He's not just a recording. It's like his consciousness. And I think he says this, his consciousness was mapped onto the codex, or it was mapped onto,
I think it was onto that
colony.
little USB that he totes around with him.
The USB. This is Superman USB drive.
Yeah.
And yeah, he's interacting with of course Superman. He's interacting with Lois Lane. He's opening and closing doors. He's fucking with shit. He's talking to Zod. I think he talks to Zod at one point. He's not like Marlon Brando's character, where in the original Superman, where he's really only talking to Superman.
Right.
That's all he intended to do, was to give Superman specific answers to things that he needed to know. Right. This is not the same thing. This is not, and that's what this whole reboot of the franchise feels like, is like, this ain't your grandmama's Superman. And it's fucking,
I mean, they don't even use the original theme. This is the first Superman movie that doesn't use the John Williams theme.
And I have to say, the Superman theme, like the ongoing theme in this movie, the one that you hear over and over again, is kind of memorable and not terrible.
Oh, well, I mean, it's Hans Zimmer.
It's Hans Zimmer. It's fine.
I mean, I love Hans Zimmer. It's not going to be terrible. I think the score is fine. I think it's a fine score. It's epic and it's superhero-y.
Right.
But I mean, it's Hans Zimmer. Like, he can't fuck up that bad.
He can't fuck up that bad, but at the same time, I don't feel like he's ever written a truly remarkably memorable score. Like, his scores are very, very percussive. They're very atmospheric.
I don't think that's true. I'm going to look up something to... make sure.
The only one only because I listened to it a shit ton when I was a teenager. But the only one that I could probably hum the melody to right now is like the main. Back in the old days of Hollywood, they'd call it a love theme. But of The Last Samurai, which I believe he did the score for. I think he did. I'm pretty sure he did. But anyway. They're about to launch Zod and his crew off into space in a bunch of space dildos. And when you see him,
he's welcome back to the podcast too because he was Gladiator.
Who?
Hans Zimmer.
Oh, was he? Okay, right on. Has he not done anything else that we've?
I'm looking.
Covered?
I'm sure he has.
I don't know. The only one that I could, and it would probably take me a while to hum the melody of, would be The Last Samurai, probably. But it would take me a minute, and I can't have anything else going on in my head. I've got headphones on right now, and I'm listening to this piece of shit going through my head.
The pirate scores, Dustin.
He didn't write those. He didn't write them. He composed, or I guess he composed the last three. But the first person to write the original pirate score was what was it? Desplat? No, it wasn't Desplat. What was his name? Fuck, I can't remember his name. I think he's a French guy. But anyway, we're missing nothing actually. It
is nothing.
The flying beast that
Klaus Badel.
Klaus Badelt. That's right.
Yeah, you're right.
Klaus Badelt.
It always confuses me because I always associate Hans Zimmer with the pirate scores, but I always remember that it's not him.
Right.
Who actually came up with the themes.
So when Jor-El, I don't know if you caught it. I caught it certainly. When Jor-El is flying around on Hraka, because I guess David Goyer and Zack Snyder thought this was going to be like a Star Wars where you name every last little fucking thing. You give everything a name because every toy is going to be people are going to be clamoring for them. They're going to be running over people, beating motherfuckers to death in Toys R Us to get the fucking Haraka figure from Man of Steel. No.
No.
When he's riding Haraka, the flying avatar beast, there's no wind going through his hair. None at all. Like, he's just straight up on a green screen. They don't have a fan on him. Nothing.
Do his parents believe... I am still confused about this. Do they believe that they also should die? Because the impression I get is that they don't want to be saved and they don't want the other people on the planet to be saved, and the only person they want to get off the planet and start new is their child that was born naturally and not born by the machine process of whatever that they use. They talk about like when you're born that way not having free will, but they do have free will because like I know they don't have a choice about what job they have, I guess. But they certainly do have free will because they chose to have a baby naturally, which is obviously against the rules.
Right.
So I don't know. Are his parents kind of bad people that they just wanted everybody on the planet to die? Like, do you get what I'm saying? Because
no, not really.
I don't understand why they didn't make an effort to get off the planet. I don't understand it. There was no logical reason to me that they didn't. They had all this time and they had time to prepare this pod and they've been in secrecy for the length of having a baby.
Is that not the rub in every version of this story though?
But particularly
it's like, why don't they get off
the
planet too? Why? Like what is holding them to Krypton? If they can have a little ship to send their baby off into space, why can't they have a ship to fit 2 more people and they just all go?
But I feel like Superman has a conversation with Zod about this, or Zod has a conversation with Jor-El about this at some point, where they're talking about the people not having free will and like they didn't like saving them wasn't what was important.
Look at that puby beard on Superman. That puby fake ass beard. It's so terrible.
Look, everybody in the world doesn't have a gigantic beard.
No, I'm sorry, but Henry Cavill can grow a fucking beard. That beard right there, that's a 3-week...
You're gonna...
Hold on. That's a fucking 3-week beard max.
You're gonna feel real bad if that's his real beard.
I won't feel that bad. I'll feel a little bad. Dude needs to put some Honest Amish in that. Give it some strength. So this whole thing, so we're jumping around. We're getting Tarantino to hell and back with the timeline. So we've got the origin, which jumps forward to him kind of being a vagrant, I guess, and just doing odd jobs.
Is his beard like not flammable? Because he was on fire. His face was on fire.
No, his chest hair isn't flammable. His hair isn't flammable. Every part of him is indestructible. Everything.
How does he cut his hair?
That's a really good question. Maybe he's like a Saiyan from Dragon Ball, where a Saiyan's hair only grows to a certain length and it can't get any longer than that. And
okay, but he clearly loses the beard. He has a beard, and then later there is not a beard.
Right.
So he cuts it off.
I don't know. Never thought about Superman's body hair before.
But, well, this is a good movie to talk about Superman's body hair with,
because he has quite a bit of it, and I kind of appreciate that. That was a Henry Cavill choice. He got into extreme shape for this movie. I mean, extreme
When you're
shape.
ready to talk about it, I have some notes about how he got into shape.
I don't want you to get too excited.
Specifics about how he got into shape. But he argued with Snyder, I guess, about the chest hair.
Yeah, of course, because Snyder wanted him to be like, hairless.
And he was like, why does having muscles mean you don't have chest hair? That doesn't make sense. And then he won because he cited the death of Superman, where apparently
is this maybe a They Live nod? Maybe a little bit.
Oh, come on.
There's a little bit of They Live in there, right?
Yeah, but I don't think that's intentional. What was I going to say? The chest hair, because the death of Superman, apparently he's pretty hairy in that one.
Yes, he certainly has chest hair.
So
there you go. I mean, I appreciate it. It's rare that you see a guy that's in that kind of shape that doesn't just wax every part of his body, isn't just super shiny and gross. No offense to anyone who happens to be
who's super shiny and gross,
who happens to be ripped to hell and back, and also super shiny and gross. I'm sorry. But yeah, like we talked about this last week. I don't think Superman needs to be buffed. This is a product of like.
Okay, no, he doesn't need to be buffed. But is he pretty? Yes, he's very pretty.
Yes, of course, right. But he is a product. But so is Brandon Routh.
True.
So is like Christopher Reeve. Like, they're athletic, they're in shape, and they're handsome, and they're charming. But when they put on the suit, when they put on like an office suit and glasses, you can believe that they're journalists.
But
maybe.
it's the equivalent of when when a girl's got super boob job and unhealthy thin waist and gigantic hips and like that outrageous hourglass figure, which is supposed to be the epitome of hotness, but like you get to some point where it looks so unnatural that it's difficult to consider it really hot. Like, I mean, at least for me.
The fucking dialogue in this scene, I'm sorry. The scene where baby Clark Kent, because we've jumped from baby flying through space and crash landing on the Kent farm to he's on a boat and now he's under the water with the whales, and he's dreaming of when he was a kid and he saw people's skin and bones and flesh with his 3D vision for the first time, and it freaked him out and he got locked in a closet, and the whole class is gathered around the closet when good old Ma Kent runs up and she says, I'm here, Clark, I'm here. You don't have to be scared. And the first thing he said was he says, the world's too big, Mom.
Then make it small. Make it small, baby.
This kid.
That is some writing.
Look at this guy.
And then blah blah, some ocean shit.
The
and
shape that this guy's in. Like, I believe that this version of Superman is only in this shape. He's only in this shape because he chooses to be. He would be just as strong if he wasn't in this shape. But he's so fucking insecure from being a little whiny shit and then being subsequently tormented and bullied by kids.
Oh, he's not a likable kid in this movie.
He's not a likable adult in this movie.
Also true.
He's not a likable Superman.
But he is an attractive adult.
Re-
But unnaturally attractive to the degree that, like, it also kind of detracts from it. Like, being really honest, going back to what I was talking about, like, yeah, he's fun eye candy for this, but in the end, it's kind of like, but a little bit too far. Need to back it off a bit.
this kid, like this fat ginger who, I don't know, like, I guess it has to be a fantasy universe, like the Superman world, in which that fat ginger isn't the one who's being bullied as opposed to being the bully. He calls Clark Dick Splash. And me watching this, like, I recoiled when I heard that. It was like, I felt like Odesu coming out of 15 years of imprisonment and hearing those punks calling him a dick shit for the first time. And he's like, whoa, words are different now. People call each other dick shits. I don't know what that was. I feel like I'm not on fleek or whatever enough to understand what a dick splash is. Did I use on fleek correctly?
I don't know. I'm listening.
We're 30.
I'm thinking about other things. Like in the closet, Clark also, while talking about the ocean metaphor that his mom was trying to bring around, he was like, I see it. And then she was like, then swim towards it, honey. And I'm like, man.
Wow, you're making this worse. And then a couple scenes later, we've got this where he's getting bullied by a fat ginger, and you're like, okay, I get it.
That's supposed to be Lana Lang, I think.
Is it? Okay,
yes.
That's fine.
Who
fucking cares? They say your name in the next scene, and who fucking cares? It's like, we said her name, nerds, good enough.
Also, I thought it was kind of weird, like the way he was being bullied too, because he was like, what do you think? Did you see the game? And then she's like, leave him alone, Pete. And I'm like, why? He's just, I mean, yeah, he said it in a not nice voice, but he just said, did you see the game? Why is that so bad that you got to stand up for somebody? It's kind of a weird, like, not really bullying statement, right? Did you see the game? Yeah.
Was there a long pause there, and then he was like, Dick Splash? Oh, that's right. How are you today? And then you give him a few seconds. I'm fine. Asshole. That's how you bully. Textbook. That's how it's done.
Textbook bullying.
All right, so what we got going on now? Oh, we got a terrible fucking conversation between the worst on-screen Pa Kent of all time.
Oh, yeah, he's horrible.
Period. Kevin Costner. Even fucking John Schneider, who played Pa Kent in Smallville, had something to say. He was not a fan. He was not a fan of how Kevin Costner, I guess it's not really Kevin Costner's portrayal so much as it is the script that he's, forced to regurgitate. But Pa Kent is all about like, no, man, you got to keep your shit under wraps. You got to keep your shit a secret, because if you don't, people are going to hunt you down, and they're going to do experiments on you, and they're going to touch your wee-wee and your butthole.
We talked about this. Clark, you have to keep this side of yourself secret. What was I supposed to do? Just let them die? Maybe.
That was a...
Really?
Hold on.
Really?
That was a trailer line. Like, that was such an important line that they thought should be out there. It's like, oh no, this is a different kind of Pa Kent who's really just driven by fear and paranoia.
Oh, that's good. America needs a bit more of that. We need a bit more fear and paranoia.
Like, what about the Pa Kent that is just in awe of his son, that's like, I don't get it, I don't understand it, but what I do understand is that nothing can hurt you. Nothing can hurt you, and you can do amazing things. So get out there and do amazing things for this world, because we may not deserve you, but we've got you, and that's the greatest gift that you could possibly give us.
Is this really the best time to have this conversation with your son? Like, there is someone at your house still. Pete and his mom are still at the house right now. And also, this means that you're having this conversation without telling your wife.
The conversation, of course, is revealing to his son for the first time that your son, that he's an alien.
That he's an alien.
From outer space.
You are having this conversation without consulting your wife, for one thing. And also without her being there, which is super shitty. Whether or not you consult her and have the conversation where you're like, okay, it's time to tell him. But also she's just not there at all. really shitty timing, for one thing. Before we get past it, Pete's mom mentions that Fordham boy, which is, people think, a reference to Whitney Fordham, or Ford Man, actually, is the name in the Smallville show.
Okay.
But it's a character if you watch Smallville.
Who cares?
Well, people on the internet do.
Of course.
Some great lines from this scene include, "Can't I just keep pretending that I'm your son? You are my son."
That's a line from a comic book.
It is, and it sucks.
That's a terrible fucking line. You are my son.
It's from
You are my son, Clark.
Superman's Secret Origin.
Yeah, I can't remember who wrote it.
Jeff Jones.
Jeff Johns.
Johns.
Yep.
Yeah, it sucks.
What
Jeff.
kid would react that way? Like, as far as we know, he's grown up with, loving, if not a little bit cowardly and miserable pieces of shit parents, but ones that love him. And as soon as it's revealed that he's a space alien, his reaction is, am I not your son anymore?
I mean, the thing is,
I'm confused.
I'm sure when, like, right around his age was probably the time where I was having those fantasies where I was like, oh my God, wouldn't it just be so fantastic if I found out I was an alien? Like, wouldn't that be the best thing that could happen to me? And I was having...
I mean, he's prime age for, like, young adult super special teenager reading material.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
And I mean, I did my damnedest to convince my friends that I was, like, from another planet a lot, or from another universe. I mean, I was real serious about not being me.
I feel like I've told this story on the podcast before, but I feel like we've all had that phase where you're like, I want to be extra special in a way that's dumb.
But you don't think it's dumb then. I
definitely convinced one of my best friends. Actually, he was my best friend at the time. I convinced him for like 5 or 10 whole minutes with one of those, like, fake Old West
Gatlinburg photos.
Yeah, the ones that you get at, like, Gatlinburg or, like, a county fair. I don't know where you get them. In Tennessee, you get that shit at Gatlinburg. Pigeon Forge in Gatlinburg. But one of, like, those Old West pictures that you dress up for, and they photograph you and print it off in sepia tones and put it in a big wooden frame and way fucking overcharge you for it.
Yeah.
I convinced him with one of those and a fucking cheap-ass pocket watch that had like a locomotive on it. One that I got from, like, Walmart or some shit. Those two items were enough, and just fucking raw earnesty were enough to convince him that I was a time traveler from the Old West. Like, no fucking shit. It was great. That was a good 10 minutes before I just
I got pretty close to convincing a friend that I was a princess that had come from the castle that was painted on my wall in my bedroom. So, we all do that. We all have that fantasy, I think, that we're from somewhere else or we're something special. But I think the reality of the reaction is whether or not you really, really want to be a space alien from Krypton, or Crouton, as it was for me when I was very young. I mixed it up at some point when I was little. Whether or not you really, really want to be from Crouton, the fact is that when your parents have the conversation with you where they tell you that you are an alien from planet Crouton, the only thing you're going to do is not believe them. You're going to be like, haha, you're fucking with me.
Right.
It's not funny. I don't think it's funny. Like, and if you really did accept it, that they were not screwing with you, then I don't think the first place you would go is be like, well, how'd we all get off the planet, Mom and Dad? Because clearly you are Mom and Dad, and clearly you also came off of that planet with me.
Right.
Like your mind wouldn't go to, can I just pretend to be your child? Like, that's not where you're going to go.
Chris Maloney. Chris Maloney's kind of a sight for sore eyes. I don't think he's been on the podcast before. He does great work, and here he is talking to Lois Lane, as played by Amy Adams, and I'm going to put this out there, MVP of the movie, Amy Adams as Lois Lane.
Yeah, I think so.
I think she
might even be my favorite Lois Lane.
She is she doesn't have a lot to work with. She doesn't have a great script to help her. But
so that's hard.
She has the charisma, as they say.
Apparently, she auditioned for multiple castings of other Lois Lanes. Even Superman Returns.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Which,
That's
and
right
I
here.
think if she had gotten Superman Returns, then she would have had the same problem as, I don't remember her name.
Kate Bosworth.
And that's that she still would have been too fucking young.
Yeah.
So
But
I
now,
would have had
you know,
the same problem.
10 years after that, or, however many
This
years
is
after
the
that.
appropriate
7 years.
age for Lois Lane. So
Yeah, I think so. And I think she does a great job. She gets to say the word dick, and like referring to a penis, a couple of penises actually. And I think that's pretty cool for Lois Lane to be able
Yeah.
to say the word dick in a Superman
but
movie.
she just said it right. It was if we're done with the dick measuring
We're
contest.
done measuring dicks. Yeah.
Yeah. Talking to the military guys.
Which is nice. Like as soon as she says that, not to give Goyer any props, but as soon as she says that, I'm just like, all right, this Lois is spicy. All right.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that.
No, I definitely think she is the most capable and spiciest Lois, at least from
But she
the
does
major motion pictures.
She does
So-
follow a long tradition. She does follow in the footsteps of a long tradition of Lois Lanes who are so go get 'em, have such a go get 'em attitude that she gets herself into fucking trouble. Like look at the shit that she's doing right now.
She's climbing a mountain in the middle of the night
Like polar bears.
in an
anybody?
ice wasteland. Yeah, look at this. Oh no, that's silly. There's no way.
Yeah, it's a little over the top.
No, it's
a
totally,
lot over the top.
Totally over the top.
Anyway, we missed the scene in the bar where, because I guess we have to have a scene in a bar because Superman 2, I don't fucking know. But some guy
It's a bit Wolverine-y, right?
Yeah.
Like the whole like traveling alone and being super strong and dealing with nasty other people.
Yeah, there is that. I don't know why I didn't put that together, but that is very much like a Logan on the run kind of just staying under wraps, being scruff and bearded
And kind
shit.
of angry at the
And
world.
It's like I'm trying to figure shit out.
He just needs like some cigars.
It's like if your analog for Superman can be Wolverine
Then
in
that's
any
I
universe,
think that's a problem.
you fucked up
I think
Superman.
if I can draw that connection, then I think that's a problem in
Right.
itself.
But anyway, like I think that's part of the problem with having a physique, and going back to this because I didn't really get to finish my thought from before. Having a physique like Henry Cavill's playing Superman as opposed to just a normal dude, I think it's hard to believe that anyone would fuck with him. So you've got this little tiny guy in the bar that wants to fuck with him, and of course he doesn't get his ass kicked because Superman's better than that, I guess.
Better than that, except that he destroys his fucking truck.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, just one glance looking at Dude in the Bar. Dude in the Bar wants to fight immediately, which tells me that Dude in the Bar has been in his fair share of fist fights inside scruffy bars.
Right, but he knows better than to punch Clark or punch Superman when he tries to shove him and he doesn't budge, and he's like,
But
oh, okay.
but whatever though, regardless, like if Clark had punched him, and we'll say a not full super punch, but just like a little tappy punch. If not taking his head off, but just giving him a black
love tap,
eye.
just a little love tap.
Right? I know that Clark doesn't want to be mean and hit people, except that I'm pretty sure that this guy getting punched in the face would not mean as much to him as his truck being destroyed.
Right.
This is a guy who has been punched in the face before. It's not going to end his life for him to get punched in the face again. That truck might be his whole life.
Well, I mean,
you might have just
that's the
ruined his
thing.
career.
I mean, it's a moment that the payoff of that moment is like, oh fuck, Superman's so strong. But also, you come away from the moment where Superman doesn't fight him and just lets his apparent strength speak for itself, and the guy kind of backs off, and you're like, oh shit, like he didn't fucking move when he was shoved, and that is just a small taste of what Superman, a very very small taste of what Superman is, strength wise.
Mm-hmm.
And then he goes outside and sees his truck destroyed, and we're like, okay, so Superman's petty. Great.
Yeah, petty,
Great.
and that's
we have
like
a
I
petty
said,
fucking Superman. Great.
way worse and way shittier and way meaner than just punching the guy in the face.
Yep. And then the guy's reaction to his semi truck being destroyed is just kind of a tilt of the head.
Yeah, it
Like,
is.
huh,
But there are some
ain't that a curiosity?
there are some reactions like that in this movie. There's one of the many scenes where people are running through the streets because the city is being destroyed.
Do you know how you get a reaction out of an actor? Do you know what the word is called? What it's called when you?
I think it starts with a D.
Yeah, I think you're right.
It's not dicking. It's not dicking around.
It's not dicking around, which is what I'm afraid was actually happening. I believe the word is directing. I think that's what you need to do to summon reactions and emotions out of your actors and kind of fine tune and tighten those screws where you want them. I don't think Mr. Snyder's doing a lot of that.
Because in those scenes I'm talking about, and there's more than one where this happens, where you've got people like running through the streets, or like some explosion happens and a building falls over and people like get out of their cars and look. Their looks are just kind of like,
It's like, wow. Look at that.
Wow, look at that. Oh, wide surprise eyes.
Oh.
And it's like, no, I know we're just going to green screen this whole movie, but but what you're looking at requires a little bit more than surprise eyes.
Just a hair. Just a little bit more.
It's your imminent death and the imminent death of the entire city and maybe the world. So surprise eyes isn't really cutting it.
Here's something that's a little bit, and this is kind of nerdy and dumb, but this ship that's flying away was part of the colony that Krypton tried to send out these ships to colonize different planets and to terraform different planets with what's called the World Engine. There's still apparently a World Engine on this Earth somewhere, or they're going to send one. It's the whole fucking third act, or part of it anyway. And Superman goes in and puts his little USB drive into the old ship that's been there for however long. How long do they say it's been there? Like 18,000 years or something like that?
Yeah, something like that. Well, the ice around it is that old.
And a fucking robot comes up and starts wrestling the Superman. And Superman is struggling, like actually struggling against this robot to try to break free just long enough to push the USB drive the rest of the way in, so that the robot's like, oh, okay, you're one of us, I guess. Here's the thing. Superman is only this strong because he's on Earth and he's being fed by Earth's yellow sun.
Yes, correct.
That's which we don't really see in this movie.
So you're saying it's not logical that he would struggle with the robot?
Because that robot was designed to be security against, I assume,
Kryptonians.
People, yeah, like of relative strength of people on Krypton.
Unless they would assume,
which are not as strong as Superman because they're not being fed by the yellow sun's radiation.
But his parents knew when they sent him off to Earth that he would be stronger because of the radiation.
They didn't send that. That was 18,000 years before.
Yeah.
That had nothing to do with Superman.
Okay, no, but I'm saying like they could have guessed it too. They could have, the people 18,000 years ago could have also guessed that the sun's radiation would make people stronger. That
shot right there of the polar bear was the hint for this episode. And 2 weeks in a row, David Delgado from Facebook, or on Facebook rather, he's one of the hosts of the Movies That Weaned Us podcast. He guessed it again. I think he's a big Superman fan. I get that impression. So he was able to guess both of our Superman movies from this month. Congratulations, and listeners out there, please go check out the Movies That Weaned Us podcast. A great bunch of guys doing some great work over there.
Multiple things I want to talk about that we just mentioned. For instance, the hemorrhaging scene where you meet Lois Lane and then you have to laser her wound immediately.
Nice to meet you. I'm going to laser eye your stomach.
They kind of blow this relationship. Well, not kind of. They totally blow this relationship. They ruin it. It's as bad as the Thor and What's-Her-Face relationship.
Natalie Portman.
No. That is the best portrayal of that character. No.
If you don't know what we're talking about, the South Park episode that's got Natalie Portman having to do something with her crotch. I don't even know.
I just like open a portal to another world or something.
There's like a laser coming out of Natalie Portman's vagina at some point in the episode.
But like they have to convince her by like wooing her. And
it's pretty good. It's pretty good.
No.
That's a rare bright spot in South Park's last few years.
But anyways, though, so yeah, they ruined this relationship. Like I said, same as like the Thor and Natalie Portman relationship. Which they think that I'm just gonna buy it because it's there, and they don't. They ruin all the beats in this movie, every single beat. Like there's no reveal because she knows from the beginning, which is cool on one hand because she's a super reporter in this.
From a character perspective,
very cool.
I like it. I think it's a cool idea to have Lois Lane say, okay, there's a guy out there who's really super strong. I'm going to figure out who the fuck he is. And she does. She's such a good journalist, an investigative journalist, that she fucking does.
Yeah. It's,
like
that's fantastic. Unfortunately, though, when you're talking about the romance factor and the superhero factor and all of that, you kind of blow your load. Like, you take away one of the most fun things, which is the reveal, you know? Mm-hmm. And that's really fun in relationships between people and superheroes. And they just don't have it in this.
And
it doesn't exist.
It's in every single comic book. And this is, it's kind of, I don't know. I like it and I don't like it. And you're talking about exactly why. I think that reveal is fun.
But it's cliche. It's done.
It's overdone.
I get it. No, I get it.
Every single superhero movie that has like any kind of relationship,
show.
There's a relation. Yeah, exactly. Spoiler. Oh well, I'm not going to even say it. I shouldn't even say it.
Don't say it.
I'm not going to say it.
It's too soon.
It is.
People haven't had time to watch.
Okay, so I'm not even going to say the name of the thing I was going to say. Anyway, but yeah, every single superhero anything. Of course, there's a love interest, and of course, that love interest has to find out somehow that their lover is the superhero. And that moment is always a huge moment. Like the one that stands out the most for me, probably the one that I remember the most, the one that I maybe like the most is the one from Spider-Man 2, where like Spider-Man runs in as shit's going down and he doesn't have his mask on, and Mary Jane is there and he's saving her from Doc Ock, and he turns around and just looks her right in the face, and she's just like, holy fucking shit. I don't know. It's hard to explain because it's like all of those moments kind of work like that. But in Spider-Man 2,
I think the one that you're not going to say works really well. If you want to know what it is, you can probably go on my Twitter feed and guess what we're talking about by like what I've been tweeting about recently.
Yeah.
But I think even that one kind of misses it by just a smidge too. It's like a scene too late.
It misses it. It's kind of a scene too late, and there's a line of dialogue in it that doesn't need to be there.
But anyways,
it could be all visual. But we're not going to say the name of it. Just go to our Twitter. If you're that curious, go to our Twitter feeds. What have we been talking about for the past couple of days, and you'll figure it out.
But anyways, though, that superhero reveal with the love interest, whether or not it's cliche, come on, it's powerful. Like, it is powerful for relationships to have an alter ego of a person that you're in love with and then find out.
I do like that this movie, I think I like it that this movie subverts it more than I like that powerful emotional moment that is played out.
That's hard for me to agree with because I like my taste of romance in my superhero movies. I don't, when something is too romantic, then I'm not, when it becomes a romance, then I'm not a fan of it anymore. But I like my action and adventure and fantasy and sci-fi and sometimes horror, not so much horror, to have some romance in it. And this one doesn't have any for me. It ruined it.
Speaking of Spider-Man, I think this is a cool moment in this movie. You've got a couple of things going on that I think make it cool. You've got a nice little reference to the original version of Superman that could not fly, but could only leap.
1/8 of a mile, apparently.
Oh, wow. Was it that exact?
From 1938 to 1939.
But I also think, Jesus Christ, flying through a mountain. God damn it. But it's also, I think, something that we didn't really see superheroes do, or we didn't even think about superheroes really doing until Sam Raimi did it in Spider-Man, the first Spider-Man movie that he directed, and that was watching Spider-Man figure out how to swing from buildings. where it's just like, it's terrifying. Like he doesn't know exactly what he's doing, and he kind of shoots a web one way, and he's like, okay, I'm about to hit a building, better shoot another web. And he just keeps going until he kind of finds the rhythm. And that's a really great moment, is that Spider-Man didn't always know how to fucking sling webs and soar through the cities. Right. Just like Superman didn't always know how to fly. Like we get a moment that's kind of similar to that in Superman Returns. I think that the scene overall in Superman Returns, I think the iconography and the kind of the Americana,
the one when he's a little boy and it's like in the cornfields.
I think overall it's a better scene, but I do like this learning to fly sequence in Man of Steel. It's another very small bright spot in an otherwise pretty dour and just not really fun movie. Not really a fun movie.
This scene that we're about to have here, have already had, where he flies over the zebra, is a direct reference to a comic book, but I have it somewhere in my notes, and I want to mention other things before I find it and tell you exactly what comic book that is. This Lois Lane says Pulitzer Prize correctly. So
she does. Pulitzer Prize winning journalist, which I don't know if that's in the comics. Is that just canon now?
I don't know. I guess so.
Is that just a thing? Because in the last couple of iterations of Lois Lane, it's like they make no bones about it. Pulitzer Prize winning journalist Lois Lane.
Fine, whatever. It didn't need to come out of her mouth the way it came out of her mouth because everybody in the room knew that information. Here's how to test whether or not your exposition and dialogue is bad or not.
We've said this before.
Does everyone in the room know this information? If the answer is yes, then don't fucking say it out of your character's mouth.
Or strongly question why your character would be saying it out of their mouth.
Have their mouth hole closed and rethink your writing strategy.
You better have a pretty fucking good reason for your character to say something that everyone in the room already knows. Otherwise, you're not saying it to anyone in that room. You're saying it to your audience.
And we know.
We're not stupid.
Well, that's debatable.
Okay. All right.
So he uses the key to get into the spaceship.
The USB drive?
Yeah, he uses his little USB stick, which they repeatedly go back to in this movie. People having trouble getting it in all the way.
They do return to that a lot. There's always trouble. They put it in like halfway, and something fucking goes crazy, and then you got to push it in the rest of it. They do that at least three times. I think three times in the movie. Yeah.
So he uses a little key to get in. In numerous versions of the Superman comic mythos, the only way into the Fortress of Solitude is to open the door with a key that only Superman can pick up. In different versions, this was accomplished by making the key enormous and hiding it at the bottom of the ocean. Or in All-Star Superman, this was accomplished by having a standard-sized key made out of incredibly dense matter, making it so heavy that no human being could lift it from where it sat on the ground just a few feet from the fortress entrance.
Wow.
Told you, I was all trivia today.
Is that like Mjolnir, the hammer of Thor?
Guess so, except it's just his house key.
Okay.
Which is way lamer.
So Thor says that no one can pick up his hammer unless they are worthy, but science would dictate that it's actually just because the hammer's so fucking heavy and Thor's so fucking strong. Mm-hmm. Could Superman pick up Thor's hammer?
I don't know. Can Thor pick up Superman's key?
Trick question. Who fucking cares?
Not me.
We had Russell Crowe come back. Welcome back, Russell Crowe again.
What you mean, just like back in the movie again?
Yeah, we just had a whole scene of dialogue with him where he explains Superman's origins because we need to hear that again, I guess. And he says that Kal-El, Superman's real name, for all of you not nerds out there, he says that Kal-El was Krypton's first natural birth in centuries, but also that they had to keep it a secret. So how does he know that?
Also, how much shittier is that for her, for the mother?
If you have to keep a natural birth a secret in a society where all humans are grown and, I guess, fertilized from like like stock DNA.
Then if someone else did it, then how would you know?
How would you fucking know?
Also, what I'm saying is that would really suck even more for her, because think about being a woman who is going through a natural birth and having no history to rely on for natural births or other women to be there with you and tell you about the process of doing it, and how fucking terrifying that would be.
It comes out of where?
It's been hundreds of years since a woman has done this, and she has no one to fall back on to. Oh God,
there's
that's
no way.
It's awful.
That hole is not even remotely that big.
Oh,
no way.
It's gonna. This scene is awful.
This is the dumbest fucking scene. This is.
I have other things I want to talk about, but we've got to talk about this stupid scene.
If we had to rank dumbness of scenes in this movie, this is way up there. This is, of course, the tornado scene where they're driving along a road and they seem to be uninhibited at all in their driving until they happen upon a tornado that forms right the motherfuck right there, and then suddenly it's massive traffic. Suddenly it's crazy traffic, even though they were driving just fine before, so they can't turn around and they can't drive back, so everyone just gets out of their cars and goes and hides under an underpass, which is not recommended, actually. Don't ever do that. If there's a tornado, don't go under an underpass, because the vacuum effect will be a lot stronger under there and you will get sucked the motherfuck out. Superman, even though Martha Kent was in the back seat with their dog, not Crypto, but their dog nonetheless, she somehow forgets the dog in the car when they run away.
I can't imagine this, because every time the fire alarm goes off, even if I'm like asleep and the fire alarm goes off, the first thing I think is, oh my God, where are the cats?
You wake up going, cat, cats.
Get them in the box. Put them in the same box. It doesn't matter.
They're fighting. I don't care. It doesn't matter.
Just stuff them in there. So
how can you be sitting in the back of your
sitting
car
next to your pet
with your dog, and you get out of the car and just slam the door in its face? And you're like, peace, good luck with the tornado.
Good luck, dog. I can't. There are so many things I can't believe about this scene. I can't believe she would forget the dog, number one. Number two, okay, so she forgets the dog. And then knowing that their son is extra powerful and strong, they don't let him be the one to go get the dog. Like, I can at least slightly understand the whole, like, no, son, don't come after me. Let me die so that your secret isn't revealed, right? I can at least understand the logic behind that, right? The logic is a loose.
But
why
easy?
Not just let Clark be the one to get the dog, because he wouldn't have fucked it up?
Right. He wouldn't have fucked it up, number one. And number two, how easy would it be for them to explain, oh, how miraculous, you survived the tornado. Wow. No one would question it. No one would be like, oh, you're definitely an alien.
You're definitely.
Like, if you
ran over there and ran back here.
I mean, I've known a couple of people in my life that have survived pretty crazy things. Like, things have happened. Mm-hmm. It's like, oh my God, dude, are you okay? Like, you could have died. That's
you know, really a guy intense. Who got shot in the head.
I know a guy that got fucking shot in the head in Afghanistan, and he's alive. When he told me that story,
sniped in the head. Yeah.
When he told me that story, the first thing that pops into my head is not, you must
are you an alien?
You must be an outer space alien for you to survive that. It's not hard for people to believe that miraculous things happen sometimes. Let him save the fucking dog and survive like he would. And then everyone's like, oh my God, Clark, that's crazy. Are you okay?
And besides, whatever damage is done is already done, because Lois Lane's going to figure out how you are in like one day anyways.
But instead, Pa Kent is like trying to limp away from the car because he's twisted his ankle in the door, and the tornado's coming, and Clark's like just ready to take off after him. And of course, Kevin Costner's like, no,
son.
Nope. He holds up his hand. No, don't do it.
Don't do it.
Don't do it.
Let me die.
They'll touch your butthole.
I'm ready to die.
The government will touch your butthole. Don't do it. Don't.
But again,
protect your butthole.
Again, though, back to, we don't even have to have that concern, because they could have just let Clark go get the dog and he wouldn't have screwed up. Like, he wouldn't have hurt his ankle and not been able to get the door open and whatever. Like, he just would have gotten the dog and it would have been fine.
How much do you resent that dog?
I mean, I don't,
After
but I'm sure they do.
No. That's what I mean. I mean, you as in like they. Like how much do they resent that dog now?
Oh,
like
a lot.
they wake up every morning without Pa Kent.
As much as
in the
I
house,
love my
and
cats,
they come downstairs and they see that piece of shit dog on the floor, and they're just like, "Fuck, why?"
As much as I love my cats, and as much as I likely would try to go into a burning building to save my cats, if you were the one who went into the burning building to save the cats and you died and the cats survived, me and kitties wouldn't have a very good relationship anymore.
Oh my God, no way.
So,
like, and this is way different, and I think the emotions are far more complicated. But I think that there's a bit of that emotion, there's a bit of that feeling in, of all things, Jesus, Kevin Smith's Jersey Girl. You've seen Jersey Girl, right? I thought I'd showed it to you.
No, you've tried to get me to watch it a few times. I've sort of sat through like the first half.
I think Jersey Girl has aged better than just about anything that Kevin Smith has made at this point. Straight up, not even kidding. And I think there's some really complicated emotions in that movie, one of which is, of course, the fact that early in the movie, Ben Affleck's character has this whirlwind romance with Jennifer Lopez's character. She gets pregnant. She has a baby. She dies in childbirth. And then after that, Ben Affleck doesn't want to have...
Maybe I did watch the whole thing with you.
Doesn't want to have anything to do with the baby. He's a workaholic. He leaves the baby at home with his dad. And there's a scene where he breaks down and he's just like, why I don't know if he says, why couldn't you have died? It's not like that intense, but there's this moment where he really breaks down, and it's powerful. It's like, I love you, you're my child, but I lost the thing that I loved the most before you and because of you, and how do I reconcile that? That's how they got to feel about this dog. That's definitely what Snyder was going for.
The National Weather Service, Clark's drinking a beer. Can Superman get drunk? Have we had this conversation?
We had this conversation.
Did we already have it last week?
We had it last week. The question is, can he get drunk? And if he cannot, then that means he's drinking Budweiser for the taste.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. Bad choice.
Interesting.
Which makes me hate this Superman even more.
I don't think he can get drunk. I think it's like a Captain America thing.
I'm sorry, we haven't talked about Lawrence Fishburne as Perry White.
I surprisingly have a lot of things to say right now, so you're going to wait on Perry White.
All right, go.
So the tornado scene, apparently the National Weather Service was pretty pissed off, and
because of the overpass.
Yep. And they did not condone that scene, and they actually even considered taking it out, but they didn't.
They should. If they had taken it out, how do you kill Pa Kent?
I don't know. I think they were just like, it'll be difficult to kill him off screen. So they didn't.
Really?
I don't know. But they didn't take him out.
It's not really difficult to kill off the hundreds and thousands of people who die off screen in Metropolis at the climax of this film.
But apparently I don't know why any of this matters. Never mind. I'm looking at my notes and I don't see how they matter.
Okay.
But it just other tornadoes and things where people died in overpasses were cited as reasons for maybe taking it out, but ultimately they kept it in there. I also wanted to talk about the polar bears. Because we haven't.
Oh my God!
We haven't talked about the polar bears.
Are we about to mention Kevin Smith?
We are about to mention Kevin Smith
damn it,
again.
Get out of our podcast, Kevin Smith.
Yeah, we're about to mention him again, and it's perfect because you already brought him up. But so if you don't know, years ago, Kevin Smith had been brought on to write a Superman movie, and
yes, he did.
I'm sure you can tell this story probably better than I can, but basically, producer.
You should just let Kevin Smith go look up this story on YouTube because. It's the best thing Kevin Smith's ever done is tell this story.
Yes, it's really funny. But the producer, John Peters, as what I was reading, how it phrased it, said, owing to a little too much time spent watching the Nature Channel, was insistent that Kal-El should have polar bears guarding the of solitude because they were the fiercest animal killers in the animal kingdom.
Yes.
So the polar bear's outside the, what is now kind of the Fortress of Solitude, I guess, in this.
I guess.
That was probably a reference to that, which is pretty funny. That's cool, right? That's funny.
Yep. So funny.
Also,
I don't know. I feel like we're reading into that. Like that there's polar bears there. It's like, oh, because I have to be honest. As soon as I saw the polar bear, the first thing that popped into my head was Brainiac razzling a polar bear. That's the first thing that popped from the story. The story.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Honestly, it was the first thing that popped into my head. But,
the first thing that popped into my head was this landscape looks like it should have polar bears, and it does.
Yes,
so
that makes sense.
I wasn't
they
surprised.
are in the Antarctic. Is that where polar bears are?
I don't know.
Arctic?
That's why I avoided saying
shit. Now everyone knows I'm dumb. God damn it! I know penguins are in Antarctica.
That's why I used the word landscape.
Damn it!
It's probably fine. There are probably polar bears everywhere.
They're probably everywhere.
Well, Lost lets us know that polar bears are everywhere.
Penguins are definitely in Antarctica, and I think polar bears eat penguins. So polar bears are also in Antarctica. So there. Deductive reasoning. Regular.
Also,
Sherlock Holmes.
Inside this scout ship, did you see how there were 4 cryogenic sarcophagi?
No.
No.
Where? What?
When he's looking and he finds like the dead bodies inside the ship, remember?
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Okay, so there are 4 of those, and 3 have skeletons, but 1 is open.
Oh my God. I'm sorry. Clark is reading Plato.
You're fucking kidding? Are you serious?
The book he's holding is a book of Plato.
Oh my God. Really?
Yeah. I'm surprised you didn't notice that. What do you got?
I did not notice it.
What do you have to say about that?
What do I have to say about it? How old is he here? 13?
Maybe.
Oh, please.
I mean, there better be a Playboy tucked inside that book. That's all I'm saying.
There better be, because otherwise I would hate this kid so much. Oh, God. I mean, I have to be honest. Even when I see people my age who are in the program I'm in going around toting like theory books and stuff, unless they're doing research for class, there's a part of me that's kind of like, really? It's really what you want to read right now?
That's your leisure reading?
That's your leisure reading right now?
Okay.
That's really what
all right, then.
Okay. Anyways, so I was telling you the really dun 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 thing, and you ruined it.
Okay.
Which is
continue with the dun dun dun.
Yes, that one. Yeah.
Because you didn't put the inflection on the dun dun dun, and it could have very well been dun dun dun, as opposed to dun dun dun. Right.
Either way,
okay.
you can put the inflection wherever you would like in your heads. But there were 4 cryogenic coffins, whatever, boxes, and 3 of them had skeletons, and 1 of them you can see in the background is open and empty. And this is not
Supergirl.
Maybe, because this is not just like they fucked it up. It actually was something that they intentionally did. David S. Goyer and maybe Snyder too actually have talked about this and been like, yeah, that's supposed to be there. I don't think they have a plan for it specifically, but yeah, it's supposed to be there as like an untied.
So if
thread.
If you like the analog of Superman and the Christ story, you can't get much more on the nose than this scene right here. Superman is talking to a priest inside a church. He's walking away now, but he's talking to a priest inside of the church about his choice of whether or not to give himself up to the U.S. military as Zod demands. And he is having this conversation in front of a stained glass window of Jesus praying in the Garden of Gethsemane.
Yes.
Which is, of course, the moment in biblical mythology where Christ is praying to his heavenly Father for any other option aside from the sacrificial crucifixion.
Right.
If there's any, it's something like, if there's any other way, Father,
I'd really like to not do this.
please let me not die horribly.
Horribly.
Which is a really, in the Christ mythology, it's a really wonderful human moment that is very powerful.
Which, if you don't remember from us talking about this already, is the best thing about any superhero story, which would include Jesus's story.
Yes.
Which are,
because let's be real,
are those human moments.
Yes, the human moments are the ones that we can relate to, which is the hardest thing for us to do.
That's why Mary Magdalene is interesting.
Yes, that's right. One of my problems, and I did like the learn to fly sequence, but it is the first sequence that we see Superman wearing his suit in, right? Mm-hmm. Wearing the blue pajamas, so to speak. And probably the biggest problem I have with that scene is that he puts on the suit and it's supposed to be this great moment that he, becomes the Superman that we know him to be. And I don't know who the fuck he is. I don't know who he is as a character. I know that he helps people if he happens to be around to help them because he has no fear of being hurt. And I also know that he's petty. I don't know anything else about him other than kind of dark and confused and I don't know what life is.
I'm very buff.
But it's very glazed over. It's very generic kind of is it ennui? I guess that's what it is just this kind of general sense of existential quandary and I just don't know, like what's my purpose? Why am I here? I don't get it. And that's it. They don't put any kind of point on it. I don't think that they need to put too fine a point on it where Superman's, dwelling on specific shit or whatever. I mean, they could. That'd be an interesting take on the character, but there's nothing. This Superman is nothing. He is nothing. He's petty, and that's it. That's all we know. That's a specific character trait that we've seen him, exemplify. Is that right? But that's it. That's all we know about him.
No, yeah, there's no character here. I don't know who he is as a kid. I don't know who he is as an adult. I definitely don't like what I see as
a kid. He's a pretentious little shit that reads Plato.
Apparently. Yeah, I just don't care. And here's another show of how I don't care. I don't care about their relationship. As I've said many times, my big problem with the Thor movies, which is something, and there have been other podcast episodes where we have talked about this in much greater detail, but probably the Avengers episode, I would guess. I love Thor. I think Thor is super cool, and I love I'm a fantasy geek, so like all the fantasy lore behind it, I should be totally into the Thor story. I should be way behind the Thor movies, and I'm just not because they just don't develop those characters. They're in those movies. Thor's fine, I guess, but it's just shitty character writing, shitty relationship writing. It's not believable. I don't care when the relationship happens. And I'm someone who wants to care. I'm a girl who's into my romance and my fantasy. And I don't care.
I'm a little slow. So this just dawned on me. Why the fuck was he reading Plato and not Nietzsche?
Yeah, well, that would have taken some effort to think about, something that would go with,
Because David S. Goyer, who might be an ounce smarter than Zack Snyder, probably wrote that into the script. And Zack Snyder's like, why is he reading Nietzsche? And David S. Goyer's like, well, the Ubermensch. And he's like, Ubermensch? That's not Superman. That's a different word. Plato. He likes philosophy.
I know the name Plato.
I know the name Plato. It sounds like Play-Doh, the shit that I used to make Superman toys out of when I was a kid.
No one's gonna know who this other person is. Yeah, no. Whatever. We didn't want to think too hard there, so we just stuck a potential. What do smart kids read? They definitely read like Play-Doh and stuff, right? Yeah.
That's the one.
That's it. Let's talk about the suit a bit. Or let's specifically talk about the symbol on the suit.
Yes,
You wanna talk about that?
the idea that it's on his world it means hope is not a new idea per se.
No.
And the idea that it is the sigil for the House of El, which would be his family,
It's also not new.
not new. I think that's actually from the 1978 movie.
Yeah,
was when
that's right.
that idea was first introduced.
Which
is a cool idea. That's fine.
The shield, the S shield meaning hope, is taken from Mark Waid's Superman Birthright comic.
Okay, all right. As I understand it, very good book. I've heard that's very good. I've not read it.
But go back farther to the 1952 premiere of The Adventures of Superman, and you're going to hear Ma Kent talking to Superman about how she made his costume out of blankets they found him in. So we can only presume she designed the S, meaning for Superman, because someone had called him Superman. So back in the day, I guess it was.
Well, yeah.
S
I mean,
for
and I
Superman?
think even
That's what I always assumed it was.
even in the movie, even in the 1978 movie, it was that way. And I believe she may have even mentioned it in Superman Returns, which is, of course, in the same canon as the movie. I'm sure that probably came originally from the comic books, that she, Ma Kent made the suit out of the blankets that he was wrapped in, which I think is a cool idea. I mean, this movie kind of wants to set itself apart and be its own thing, and I understand that. That's fine. I do think it's kind of interesting that his suit is actually undergarments for armor.
Yeah, especially because, we've always had the ongoing kind of joke about the
Blue
underwear,
blue pajamas kind of thing, blue undergarments. Yeah. Somewhat ironically, even though these are literal undergarments in this version of the character, they've gotten rid of the trunks, the red trunks in his suit. And I know we've had this conversation before. You don't really care about costumes
I
and
just
stuff like
don't
that.
like. I mean, that's something that historically, when you and I go to watch superhero movies, you're always excited about it. You're always like super stoked about what the costume's going to look like.
I love the costumes. They're part of the production design, and
I think it's
like all of that
cool,
shit.
and I think it matters, but I don't care that much. Like, I don't really care like what the costume looks like. As long as it doesn't look dicky, then then fine.
Yeah, the suit, of course, is part of the look of this movie, and I mean, this movie definitely has a look, but I don't know. This movie doesn't feel like it has a great sense of color, and that's a big problem for me. I feel like that pop art nature of the Superman comics, the really strong sense of primary colors and stuff, is something that I really miss in this. All of the bad guys, like, look at this scene.
Yeah.
There are like two colors, or that shot rather. There were like two colors in that shot.
Going back to the S though, I feel like the whole turning the S into a sigil of the House of El, and it stands for hope and whatever. I feel like that's the stretch of someone who wants to take their story that's, come on, it's a little bit silly. He has an S on his chest for Superman. and it's a little silly, and we're serious big boys now, and we don't do S on chest for Superman, but we still want the same costume because nobody wants to see a Superman without the S on his chest.
Right.
So you've got to turn it into like this
Something else.
mythos that goes with
Like
the
he can't wear an S
legends
to
of-
stand for Superman. That's hokey and cheesy.
Yeah, because it is. Because originally this story was
Guess-
kind of hokey and cheesy.
Guess what?
Most comic books were.
He's a guy in a blue costume and a red cape flying around. It's hokey and cheesy
Yeah.
no matter how you slice
But they're
it.
trying
What the fuck is an S on his chest?
so hard to make it serious and like deeper ingrained in like fantasy, where everything's got a reason and a name, and it's totally unique and different from the stuff we have on Earth, and it's really original, and that's why we did it this way. And for me, it just points out more what they're trying to do in like a not good light than it does make me think it's not hokey and cheesy. Like, I much prefer it in Superman Returns, where it's just like, hey, he's got a fucking S on his chest and whatever. And we're just not going to talk about
here's
it, okay?
the thing. if you don't talk about it, no one's going to say anything. No one at any point is going to be like, I think it's time to retire the S. It's a little bit cheesy. They draw specific attention to it, and they make like in that scene where he's being interrogated, and again, in that scene, we have Superman in handcuffs. If that's not the most hilarious fucking thing you've ever seen in your life, then it's ridiculous.
I mean, like, whether or not he's Superman, he looks like he could break those handcuffs.
And of course, when he stands up, he just drops his arms to his side and he breaks them, which is expected. But I mean, if he's going to step to the glass and be like, listen, guys, there's nothing that you can do to stop me. So I'm just going to tell you, I'm going to cooperate with you guys and I'm going to be nice. And if you're going to be on my side, that's good. And if not, it's going to be really hard to stop me. So good luck. It's that kind of shit. Like, I get that.
Oh, Terminator.
Yeah. This is very, the whole Superman standing on skulls. And
with the playground in the background and stuff?
Yeah, with the broken swing set in the background and shit. Very, very Terminator 2. Then there's also like all of the Kryptonian ships, all the ships and stuff that Zod flies on. Even his costume here is very H.R. Giger-esque, as though it came out of Alien or Aliens. And then of course you've got Krypton at the beginning. I'm pretty sure that Zack Snyder has only seen James Cameron movies. I think that's it.
Interesting.
You don't actually think that's interesting.
Yeah, it's funny.
And I resent you for that. Interesting. Yes. Yes. Let me adjust my monocle. All right, where are we at?
I don't know. Are we still watching this movie?
Yes, we definitely are. Did he say the word of the day is trident yet? I think he did, or he's about to. The word of the day is trident. Oh, that's he's saying it right now. The word of the day is trident. I don't know exactly what that means, but I think it might be Pee-wee's Playhouse that we're watching. And the next time someone says trident, everyone's going to scream and go crazy. And
well, I'm sure it's probably a nod to Aquaman, right?
That's probably what is it? I guess it could be.
That's what the fan theory is online.
We do have Cowboy Curtis in this.
What?
Speaking of which, we haven't talked about fucking Lawrence Fishburne as Perry White, who doesn't have a whole lot to do in this movie, but again, I think he is good in the role.
Oh yeah, I think he's good too.
I like him.
Yeah.
He is a shouting editor-in-chief in all the right ways.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So he's
agreed.
Good.
Now that's about all I have to say though.
Yeah, but there's nothing really deep to him.
Is Jimmy in this?
No.
Ugh.
Jimmy Olsen is not in this, but he is in Batman versus Superman.
What?
But
why is there a but?
I don't know if I can say that. We haven't even seen the movie, but I already know this spoiler.
I don't know if I want to hear it.
It's really bad.
Then maybe you just shouldn't say it out loud. I don't like spoilers. We are different people about spoilers. You like to read all the spoilers before you see something.
Let's put it this way. He's a character by definition in the movie. Like he's a character as in he is cast by, he has been cast. There's an actor playing him in the movie, and that actor is credited as Jimmy Olsen.
Yeah.
But there is nothing in the movie that would indicate that he is Jimmy Olsen. Nothing whatsoever. Nothing at all. Like, he is not. He is, but he's not. So he's not a character, really. Well,
then they can just suck it. Because I like my Jimmy in my Superman stories.
I like Jimmy, too. Generally. Generally, I do. You talked about Lois and Clark last week. Who plays Jimmy Olsen on Lois and Clark?
I don't remember, but I remember I liked him then too. I mean, he was the one who inspired me to cut my Barbie doll's hair. So
that's right. That's right.
The only Barbie doll who I ever cut
because you needed a Jimmy Olsen.
Ever, because I needed a Jimmy Olsen to play Lois and Clark with my Barbie dolls.
Not play Superman, but to play Lois.
Why would I play Superman? That's not the interesting story for me. Clearly, I mean, he can go save her when Barbie car is on the bed, and Barbie car is going to fall off the bed, and Superman's got to go save Barbie car. That's fine. But really, we're playing Lois and Clark. Another fan theory. Apparently, the announcement that Zod makes, we haven't talked about his announcement because we were too busy talking about Clark Kent drinking a beer. But apparently some fans say that the announcement is also made in Klingon. That is one of the many languages.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Don't care.
If you speak Klingon, then
if you
then please verify this information for us.
If you speak Klingon,
don't you say something mean.
Then thank you for listening to our podcast.
I like Star Trek a lot.
That's all I've got to say. But you don't speak Klingon.
Of course not. I don't have time for that shit. What are you talking about?
Oh, because you're a professor?
Because I'm a professor. Why?
You know, some self-righteous nerd out there is like, actually, they teach Klingon in some universities.
They actually do.
I know. That's why some self-righteous nerd is out there saying it, screaming it into his or her iPhone/computer.
Okay. Let's talk about the announcement for a few reasons. For one reason, why does everyone automatically believe that this is an alien talking on TV? Why do they not think that it's something else, like a hoax?
Like it's like anonymous or something, like like a hoax.
Like a hoax. I'm sure that
like some hacker or some shit.
Right? Also, everyone believes that the UFO that they show on TV is a UFO. And also, major news networks chose to show a UFO in real time.
It's Clark Christ.
Yes, it is. They chose,
praise be unto him.
They chose to show a UFO in real time on major news networks. Has that ever happened? Have they ever been like, there's a UFO right now over the city. We're going to film this.
Fucking no.
Like, it is unbelievable when a UFO ever makes the news. Even though, you know, the internet would tell us that it should be otherwise.
It should be every hour of every day.
Every second. So why does everyone believe, et cetera, et cetera? Also, if this announcement of Earth harboring an alien really happened, then people would be turning in everybody.
No shit.
Like right now I would be like, oh, I got about 5 or 6 people. It's definitely turning in.
Man, I got a couple people I work with that are pretty weird, and I'm certain enough that they're aliens that if someone told me, hey, there's an alien living on Earth and we got to find him or we're going to invade,
I'd be like,
shit
whoa, I know. Yeah, right. Like,
I got a couple candidates for you.
So, also, how did Zod make the lights go out but not the TV? Everywhere.
Space magic.
For the effect.
We're about to get into the preliminary battle that is before the first climax, that is the World Engine plot that leads into the second climax, which is the fight with Zod. Like the last, and seriously, I'm looking at the time on this movie. We have an hour left.
Oh my God.
We have an hour.
Why do you say it out loud? Now we've lost all our listeners. Everyone who is listening is like, well, fuck that. I'm not listening for another hour.
Because if I say it, it makes it real.
We don't want that to be real. Okay, I'm still catching up with my notes, so let's go to when the kids were being mean to Clark while he was reading Plato, because there's definitely no reason.
We're talking. Okay, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, you're fine. You're fine. We haven't talked about Diane Lane as Martha Kent, who's fine. She's fine. She's good.
Is that all you're going to say? She's fine?
It's fine. She's fine. She's no Ava Marie Saint, but she's fine.
She's fine.
Yeah.
So when the kids were beating up Clark Kent, now that I think about it, if they're picking on him and he's reading Plato, aren't they kind of justified?
Oh, come on. That's no.
Okay, yeah, it's too far. It's too far.
No, they're justified because those same kids were probably standing around when he locked himself in the closet and said, "The world's too big, Mom."
Then make it small, honey. Make it small.
Imagine an island. Can you see it?
Yes. I see it. I see it.
Swim to it.
Swim to me, honey.
Can you
swim to me.
Swim to it. I'm here. Swim to it, baby. Swim.
Man, I just had like flashbacks of Poltergeist, right? And like I'm trying to like make those two scenes.
Oh, Zelda Rubinstein.
Yes.
Walk toward the light, baby. Walk toward the light. Stephen, call to her. Call to her. You lose
Be
your daughter
angry.
forever. Be angry with her. Tell her you give her a spanking.
So when the kids are being mean to him,
Fuck.
also Pete is from Smallville, right? Did I mention that? I think he's from Smallville, right?
Whom?
Pete.
Pete.
He works at IHOP in this movie.
Oh my God. I guess he does.
He's the one who Superman saved on the bus.
Okay. Oh, I guess he does work at IHOP. This is of course the mini battle before the two larger battles, like I said. But this is the one that's sponsored by like 40 different corporations.
I was saying from Smallville, the TV show, if you didn't get what I was saying.
Oh no, I'm sorry.
But I think he is. I would have to look in my notes, and I don't want to find it right now because I'm on another note, which is that people also assume that the ringleader in that scene is the Whitney Fordman kid, or Fordham, as he's his name is spelled in this movie. Mm-hmm. One of the boys has a number 52 on his jacket. 52 universes in the multiverse. What else? What are the other 52? The year-long 52 event, and the recent, well, I don't know how recent it is, the new 52.
Not that recent anymore,
Yeah.
but it's still going.
So, yeah, 52 is an important number in the DC universe, and we make it apparent.
It's also approximately the number of Oscar nominees / winners in this movie, because holy fucking shit. Like this, we haven't really talked about it because nobody in this movie is getting good direction. The best performances come from actors who are great actors and who can elevate the shitty material. Henry Cavill is not one of those actors. He is they even call him a cipher. In the movie, they say to people on Earth, Superman is this or that, or is he just a cipher? I think Lois Lane says it, and it's like a cipher's a zero. It's a nothing. And that's exactly what he fucking is. He's nothing.
No, I agree. It's very sad that I don't really have an opinion of him as Superman.
I don't either. I don't fucking either. Like, the best I can say is he's fine, I guess. Like, he's big.
I mean, in Superman Returns, Superman feels like Superman, and that's how I feel about him.
He's charming.
He's charming, and he feels and looks like Superman. I think his Clark Kent isn't fantastic. I think that's what we talked about.
I agree. I think Christopher Reeve has got the Clark Kent game up on Brandon Routh, but
anyways, though, this Superman, it's just whatever, right? Like, and I don't think he's bad. It's not that he's bad. It's just that he's okay.
He's just
okay.
He's there. It's not like he does. Yeah, he doesn't do a bad job. He certainly doesn't ruin the movie.
Oh no, not
There's
at all.
a lot of other shit in the movie that's way worse than him. This senseless chaos brought to you by
there's Pete,
the International House of Pancakes, and also 7-Eleven and U-Haul coming up.
What else was I going to say?
Who knows?
Oh, in that scene where he was getting picked on, we also missed Sullivan's truck and tractor repair is where he's getting picked on, which hints at Clark's other close friend, Chloe Sullivan.
Okay. We haven't talked about Zod's hench people. He's got this lady, this hench lady. In Superman 2, this character was renamed Ursa for some reason, but she goes by the original comic book character's name of Feora Ul in this. And she gets certainly more character than the other guy, whoever the fuck he is. There's this big dude who never even takes off his fucking mask. And this character in Superman 2,
this one right here.
Yes. So he's strong, and that's his character trait. At least in Superman 2, he was strong and dumb. Mm-hmm. And you can't get much more stripped down than that. But Zack Snyder managed to do it. He's not dumb because we have no sense of how smart or dumb he is. He's just strong.
Man, when you're plotting out a character, when you're really like delving into it and thinking about the choices they would make in their history, and you've got a whole page that just says strong on it. Strong.
This one's strong.
Boy.
That's, I feel like Superman.
About as good as brown hair.
Well, I mean, it's not much better than Superman, honestly. In this movie, Superman is not much more than, well, he's strong.
He's very strong.
He's strong and handsome.
Yes.
He's also kind of a shitheel, a little bit. Also, his mom is too. There's a moment when he comes
And
back.
Pa is too.
Oh, fucking! We already talked about that. Paul Kent's an asshole. Like he's nothing. I'm surprised that he turned out even remotely
So
okay.
who's nice in this movie? I guess Lois is.
Lois is fine. MVP, like I said, MVP.
MVP.
But what is it that he says to Ma Kent? He comes back from something. He comes back from something, and he tells his mother that. Fuck, what does he tell her? He tells her...
Oh, that he found his parents.
That's
and
right.
I know exactly what you're talking about. He
Yeah.
says he found his parents, and she's like, oh.
Yeah, she's like, oh, good, I guess.
And you're like, whoa.
Wow.
That's shitty.
Cool.
Thanks, Mom.
Thanks, shitty mom. Good work, everyone.
Okay, so one thing I'd like to talk
scene
about...
is just fucking stupid. This is a video game. Look at this.
Yeah, but I don't want to play this video game.
No, it looks like it's got terrible camera controls.
It's also, man, it's gonna be a hot mess when you try and play it. It's gonna be glitchy as hell. I just know it. So let's talk about the fact that Superman is trying to decide whether or not Earth is worth saving, basically. Right?
And what evidence does he have on either side of
What
that
evidence?
argument?
What evidence he has, if we're to believe by the flashbacks in this movie that are supposed to be building his character, is that all of his judgments are based on his preteen and teenage years.
Yes.
So-
where he was bullied
Right.
viciously
So
and unmercifully. So as far as Superman's concerned, we're not shit and we are fucked.
I mean, if we
I would
all
assume.
based our judgments of the human race off of flashbacks from our preteen and teenage years,
Oh God.
yeah, I would say destroy the planet, right? Because all children are sociopaths. So it's a little extreme. A little extreme.
It's not that extreme. All children are sociopaths. You're born a sociopath and you learn empathy.
Look, I was a kindergarten teacher for like 3 years. I love children. Children are learning how to be people, and they're not really great at it at first.
Yes, you have to learn how to not be a fuckhead.
But when you realize when you're an adult that, you know, that people learn and become better, hopefully most of the time, sometimes. And I just feel like this whole movie is being framed off of his judgments being made about during his preteen and teenage years.
Yeah.
Like, and I know they have the bar scene, but screw the bar scene because I don't know why that was there. Like, that just felt like Wolverine time to me, and it didn't feel like anything else.
It was there because there was a scene like it in Superman 2. That's why the fuck it was there.
So I feel like the judgments that he's basing on his, like, do I want to go with my people or do I want to go with the planet Earth or whatever? Like, I feel like all of those judgments are based off of these flashbacks we're getting where he's interacting with people being really shitty to him because he's a preteen and a teenager, and preteens and teenagers are horrible people. So, like, generally,
if you're a
generally,
or a teenager and you're listening to our podcast,
it's not that we don't like you.
it's not. No, you're not a horrible person. It's all of the other preteens.
ones.
Definitely.
Because I wouldn't consider myself, well, I probably was horrible.
Oh, I'm sure I was too. I know I was for sure.
Yeah, I was definitely horrible to my parents.
Yeah, well, the people who are closest to me and the people that love me the most don't tell the really terrible stories about shit that I did that I don't remember and have totally blocked out. But I've heard,
Yeah, you learn how to have this blank space in your mind about those years.
I've heard some horrible shit from other people that I did, even as recent, and it's not that it was recent, but even as recent as like my first semester of college, like just shit that I would never do today that I can't even believe I did. Apparently, and I'm willing to put this out there into the open. Apparently, first semester of my first year of college, I had just met this group of people, and they were all like hanging out, and they were just trying to decide on something to watch, and they decided to watch Aeon Flux. And apparently I just complained about it the whole fucking time, and I just met these people, and I have no memory of that. I honestly have no memory of that, but there are a lot of people that were there that can corroborate it, and I feel like an absolute shitheel for it. Even like, you know, fucking 10 years later or whatever, 10, 11, 12 years later. Yep.
Yeah, well, I mean, you were still a teenager at that point. So.
I was. So, like we said, teenagers are horrible people.
Terrible people. And also preteens. And also like those couple of years before preteens. And also just children.
I'm sorry. We just missed the shot that I was going to jump in. This is not as good a shot because the color balance is a little bit better. But no, the shot that before of Superman and Lois Lane, I was going to ask you, what color is their skin? Because like if you were to answer, like honestly, if you were to give an answer of an honest hue, like what shade their skin is, the answer would be pallid. That's what it would be. It'd be pallid.
Oh God. But anyways, yeah, so that's what he's judging the planet Earth on, which doesn't give us much hope, people. We're screwed. I don't know why he picks us. Also, here's another thing. And I did some research trying to figure this out, whether or not Kryptonians are immortal or not.
Oh.
Okay. I did some research trying to figure it out because here's why it matters to me. Zod doesn't look any older.
No, and apparently, I mean,
none of them do.
None of them do, and they're all 33 years older than they were.
Yeah.
Superman has aged like a human would.
I guess they were, and I would say they were cryogenically frozen. That was about to be what came out of my mouth, but then I just remembered that when Krypton blew up, that's when they came out of being cryogenically frozen.
Right. So like, they were only cryogenically frozen for like 45 minutes.
Yeah. Maybe.
Maybe.
So that means that they should have aged 33 years. And so I'm trying to determine whether or not Kryptonians are immortal. The internet wasn't actually helpful because there are like a gajillion different Superman,
theories,
just canons out there now. I mean, like there are so many different stories.
There's like infinite Earths and
so many.
That's the only one I know. I'm not a nerd like that. I'm not one of those nerds. I am a nerd.
It's really impossible to answer those basic questions because it's like, well, in this universe and in this universe, if you Google it, then the answer that pops up is that sometimes they aren't because of the sun. I don't know. That the sun makes them strong but takes away their radiation, but I don't know if that sun means like the Kryptonian sun or the Earth sun.
But here's the thing. Here's why it doesn't
matter.
Here's why it doesn't make sense. Superman has been on this planet for 33 years. He's adapted to the atmosphere so he can breathe the air without getting sick or anything like that, but the sun still makes him strong. If anybody was going to be immortal and not age like everyone else ages, it would be Superman. Mm-hmm. But it's Zod who is the one who's been traveling around the galaxy to a variety of different stars, who hasn't been benefiting from Earth's yellow sun for an unbroken period of 33 years. And he's the one who looks like he hasn't aged at all.
And I think the thing that pops up when you just randomly Google it is like that the sun gives him powers but makes him mortal. And so that's the backwards of the logic that you're saying. Okay. So right, I don't know. The answer is I don't know. I mean, you can spend more than 15 minutes Googling it and figure it out. It could be the radiation.
Maybe. I know that, and I mentioned this series last week, and I have to plug it again. Grant Morrison's All-Star Superman series, super fucking excellent, super fucking weird. And in that series, basically the series starts. Superman saves like a commercial tourist space vessel that has traveled too close to the sun. And because Superman gets too close to the sun, he absorbs too much of the sun's radiation and gets cancer. Like Superman gets cancer for getting too close to the sun. Mm-hmm. And that's the impetus for the story. and shit happens from there. Like, one of the first things he does is he gives his powers to Lois, or he allows Lois to be a Superman too. It's a weird story, but it's really good.
Anyways,
it's hard to explain. It sounds dumb, I know.
I'm not going to say anything. So
okay, here's the moment where they name him Superman, right? And they give this moment. They make such a big fucking deal about not calling him Superman. It's like, what's that S on your suit mean? It's like, well, on my planet it means hope. Well, here it's an S. I think it probably stands for interrupted, because you can't say Superman in a Superman movie.
Right? Yeah.
It's like saying zombie in a zombie movie.
It's zombies.
And then they just give a fucking nobody character who's just
The
like,
naming.
oh yeah, he's coming. He's going to bring
We
Superman.
got Superman.
It's like Superman. That's what they're calling him, Superman. Okay. Fuck you,
But
movie.
the S on his chest isn't for Superman. It's totally more important than that.
yeah,
Not
it
dumb.
doesn't mean
It's
that.
totally not dumb.
It means hope. It's just a coincidence that it
It's
stands
coincidence.
for S.
It's coincidence.
Yeah,
it's not even an S. Look at it. It's kind of weird.
It's kind of weird. It looks like, if you look at the negative space, it's kind of like two fish and and a little wedge. I don't know. It's hard to explain.
It's totally not an S. What was I going to say? I really was. Things that I do like. 2 things I do like. Okay. Are you ready? I have some things I like.
Please don't say Henry Cavill's muscles again.
No.
Okay.
We've had this conversation. I like them, but they're not,
I really
it's
like
not-
Lois's boobies. She's got good boobies. I like boobies.
It's not like, natural looking, so it's kind of too much. Anyways, what the 2 things I do like are, one is when Jor-El is helping Lois. What I think is cool. I don't want to talk about whether or not I think it's weird that his consciousness is helping Lois and whatever. But it is cool that he's like on the ship and he's everywhere. I love the idea of this like intelligence that's on a ship that's everywhere on the ship all at once, but in like a form that you can see. That was kind of cool.
I wish he was a little bit more, I don't know, nebulous or ethereal, or like he wasn't just a dude standing in the room.
No, I get what you mean, but like I've like in my mind, like I've got it would be
even in the original Superman movies, Marlon Brando's character, although I think he does step out of the crystals at some point, he's kind of like a ghost that's reflected in a lot of crystals in the Fortress of Solitude. Like he's there, but he's also kind of, there's a spirituality to him, like he might be a specter, it's that kind of thing. Like they really lean on that like ghostly imagery. Like this is the image of someone who's dead, but they don't do that with Jor-El in this movie. He's just a dude.
No, I get what you're saying, but I think it's cool though that he's like always down the hall, always ahead of her, can see everything that's going on. I don't know. I just think that was kind of interesting. I also like the way the gravity thing explodes into the planet repeatedly. What I mean by that,
the tripods? You mean the not War of the Worlds,
right? But
alien,
but the
ships.
one specifically that's hitting Metropolis over and over again. It just looks awful, right? Like it just looks horrible what's happening, where it's like every time it hits, it explodes again, and then it's bigger and bigger and bigger. That
doesn't even scratch the surface of the shit that's about to happen in this movie.
I know, but I'm just saying that it looks awful in a way that I like. It's an interesting, horrible, scary looking thing that
like it's palpable and it has weight.
Yes,
like something like
yes,
that. Yeah.
And that like, and even the scene where Perry and them are like trying to get what's her name, Jenny or something.
Huh?
I don't know, the girl who gets trapped in the rubble.
Jenny? What? The girl who gets trapped in the rubble.
They're when they're trying to rescue the girl and they're running through the city and the gravity explosions are getting closer and closer and closer, and then they just are like, we're just going to stay here and die with you. But then Superman saves the day, and the gravity thing shuts off.
I don't remember.
What are you talking? Did you watch this movie?
I did, but like at a certain point, I just can't pay attention. It's
whatever. They're like, okay, we've got to leave the building now. So they leave the building now, and then they're in the street, and then that girl right there on the screen.
Oh, okay. I don't know her name.
And I think it's Jenny, maybe. I don't know. But she gets trapped in the rubble, and they're trying to get her out of the rubble, and they can't. But anyways, just like the way that gravity explosion is coming closer and closer toward them is just particularly terrible.
Here's the thing that I kind of like about this Superman story. The thing I kind of like about this, and there aren't many, don't get me wrong. This movie's a fucking mess and it's bad. I like that this movie leans on the science fiction elements of the Superman story a little bit more than other Superman stories do, you know? Like it does feel like a sci-fi movie. This movie is, at its core, the Zod story is an alien invasion. Like that's what it is. Of course, there's nothing but fucking 9/11 imagery happening left and right for the last 45 minutes of this movie, and that's. Are you done? Are you done with 9/11 imagery? Because I'm done with 9/11 imagery.
Oh well, yeah, of course I'm done with it.
It is.
It's a cheap way to get emotion out of an American audience.
Oh, for sure. Well, I mean, I think that we've reached peak 9/11 imagery in pop culture, and I think to be fair, we've lost our privileges to it for another 10 years. I think we should kind of back off because it's at a certain point, and we're long past that point. It's just exploitative.
Yes, agreed.
And that's not cool.
Agreed. The end. What was I gonna say? I had something else to say. Okay, so what's up with Zod's like focus your senses thing? What's up with that? What's up with like the helmet somehow blocks his senses so that he can't hear and see everything the way that Clark does? And then when his helmet comes off, he's all like, oh, I can't take all the voices at once, and he can't focus. And then Superman's like, I learned how to focus over the years.
I don't know, because that is literally the only moment in the movie before or after there's nothing. That's the only time.
No, then later, like, he has like another little blurry eyesight thing, but then he's just over it. And he's just done. And he's like,
Clark?
Zod.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
He has like another moment where he's like honing his senses.
All right.
And then he just knows how to use it.
Was that the They Live thing? Is that what that was?
That's what that was for Clark when he was a kid.
Okay. Because that's what I just realized is that when Clark was a kid, he didn't know how to control it. So there was just too much going on.
No, I got that. You didn't get that?
No, I have to parse out the things that I need to pay attention to in this movie and don't need to pay attention to.
No, I got that. I got
too much shit.
It still doesn't make sense because he should have been hearing those things all of his life. It's not like suddenly he was an alien from another planet.
Right.
He was born as an alien from another planet.
It's not like when he's 10 years old, like when he hits puberty.
Oh my gosh, my powers have come.
Yeah.
You know, right?
The first thing that fucking Clark does in the 1978 Superman, as soon as he lands on the planet, is he picks up a fucking truck as a baby. That's the first thing he does. Right.
So the point is that he's had these powers from the get-go, and the whole like learning to control them when you're 10 years old really doesn't make any sense. But it obviously took him years of his life to learn how to control it. Whatever.
Right, okay.
Let's look over how stupid it is.
So for Zod.
So for Zod comes and there are so many stupid things, but he takes off his helmet and that's when he suddenly is overburdened by the sense thing. And I'm like, so you guys, these outfits that you wear all the time, probably when you go to any planet ever, are specifically made to keep you from hearing too much or seeing too much? That makes no sense.
Or they inhibit your hearing
and seeing,
and sight
right?
Somehow.
That doesn't make any sense why they would do that.
I don't know.
And so that's stupid foul number one. Stupid foul number two is that he's all, the helmet's off and he's like, oh God, it's an overload. And Clark's all like, it took me many years to focus my penis and whatever.
Think about it this way. If the suit is supposed to allow you to exist comfortably, that is,
in any atmosphere,
in any atmosphere, maybe it's advanced enough that it also tempers or modifies sensory input
I get what you're saying.
to something that is comfortable to what you will experience.
You're giving
like,
this
to your
movie a lot of
experience.
credit.
I know. I know I am. But if I'm gonna geek out on it, then I'm
Okay.
gonna.
I'll buy that. Here's the part I can't buy is that when Zod takes off his helmet permanently and is fighting Superman, he just magically at some point is able to control and focus his senses, and we're done. We're just done with it.
Yeah.
It's just like,
No,
okay,
that's dumb.
now I've learned how to do it in
Yeah.
5 seconds.
No, that's stupid. That's for
And
sure stupid.
Fine.
Yeah.
No, it's stupid. This whole movie's stupid.
Let's see.
Oh, they said danger close. Do you remember when they were like, this will be danger close? That's a real thing. Did you know that?
I did not know. What does that mean?
Danger close is when friendly troops are within 600 meters of impact range. Also, Urban Dictionary... Urban Dictionary says that's what you should yell when you take a dump.
Danger close. I did want to say something about before Superman goes off to do the world engine thing, and I don't know if they've dropped it yet, but they have this plan, and that's what Lois says. They tell the general, they say, "We have a plan, General," and I say to Lois, "You're a journalist. You don't have a plan. You don't have a plan for how to defeat this alien menace because you're a reporter."
Right, but Jor-El told her how to do it.
So
Remember?
their great plan is to drop the ship that Clark came to Earth in, which has one of the Kryptonian phantom drives in it, and they're going to drop it on Zod's ship because when the two phantom drives get too close together, they will create a chain reaction and create
A singularity?
a singularity, which is basically, as they explain it, a black hole. And I don't.
And that'll suck him back in.
First off, yo dog, I heard you like phantom drives. And secondly, a black hole near Earth is not what one might call a good idea.
The real question is, does it fucking matter? Just make some dumb shit up that has nothing to do with the story, but sounds really sciencey and serious, and just stick it in there. And then push it in again, push the tip in, because that's what you do in this movie. You stick it in, and then you wait, and then you push in the tip. That's how the USB drive works every time. Unless right now, oh my God, you can't fix it. Oh my God, what's wrong? Oh, we'll have to turn turn the ship around.
He just kind of looks at it and he's like, that doesn't look like it's
So stupid.
it's working right. It's more like a
Maybe if I turn this. Why?
that
Why?
did it.
Why?
Oh, but only halfway.
But you still got to put the tip in.
only,
Push the tip in.
Only halfway because something terrible is going to happen, and then you have to push it in the rest of the way.
Oh my God.
Fucking stupid.
How are you going to push the tip in now? But yeah, like that whole stupid thing where they couldn't get the stick to go in. And she's like, it's always gone in every other time before. And then they can't get it to go in. And then it's like they've got to twist the ship around. But it means nothing. It's nothing. Why didn't someone tell this writer that you have to like make shit mean something? That like you can't just be like, well, it's because the ship needs to be turned a certain... No, fuck it. You had to tell us that before in some other way. You had to make that be part of the story. You can't just stick it in there as like a plot device. It's broken writing.
And then he pushes it in and solves all the problems. Man, this story has relied far too much on that little stick.
Yeah, that USB stick.
And then they take the codex. I don't know if you caught this, but they take the codex information and and Zod embeds it into Superman's DNA, into his very DNA.
Right.
And you have literally taken our main character and turned him into the MacGuffin.
Mm-hmm. Yes, that's correct. So
and then he goes off and he fights the Squand Snakes. Superman v Squand Snake, Dawn of Gak, I guess. And Larry Fishburne runs around a little bit. Most exercise he's gotten since before Matrix Reloaded, by the way, for sure. And the Squand snakes are a little Matrix-esque, aren't they? Like from
a little.
They're kind of machiny, as in the machines from the Matrix.
But you're talking about the Matrix movies that I don't like.
Oh my God!
Though.
Well,
I guess in the first one they
look at fucking Metropolis right now. Oh my God!
Yeah, that's Jenny.
Look
maybe.
at fucking Metropolis.
If that's her name.
Right now. Oh my fucking God! Look.
Do you remember when the mom was looking at pictures right after her house was destroyed?
Yes.
So the one with
was that before or after the pickup truck was thrown?
It was after the pickup truck was thrown into her house. And then she takes some time to look at the family photo album. And while she's looking at that, there's a picture of Superman winning the science fair or being at it or whatever. And it shows Waysinger Primary School, which is a nod to the legendary Superman editor Mort Waysinger, also co-created Aquaman, Green Arrow, and Johnny Quick.
God. I'm sorry. They're surrounded.
You don't care?
I'm focused on this kiss because they are surrounded.
The kiss I don't care about.
They are surrounded by death and destruction, and all they can talk about is their first kiss. And also, Superman has learned the most important and valuable lesson that a hero needs to learn, and that is when you put in enough rescue tokens, the pussy pops out.
True fact.
It's like a gachapon for pussy that only accepts rescue tokens.
So this is where we're getting all the stuff where he's talking about people like not having free will.
Is that what this movie's talking about?
But that's what he's talking about right now. He's saying
that's what he's talking about.
Yes.
Is that what this movie's talking about?
No. This movie's not talking about anything. It wants to be talking about something.
It wants to be talking. What is this movie about?
It wants to be talking about father-son relationships, but it just fails utterly at that.
Does it? Does it even want to say something?
I mean, we've got two major father figures which have quotes interlaid over the entire movie, even when they're not in the scenes with them.
Nuggets of wisdom.
Yeah, it wants to be talking about that, and it doesn't say fuck all.
Two fathers that have totally different philosophies from one another, neither of which I feel like get through to Superman in any significant way. They just kind of bounce off of him, and he is who he's going to be, no matter whatever that is.
True. Anyways, so Superman, this was the scene where he was, what else, we were saying what it was talking about. What else is it talking about? It's talking about father-son relationships, or it wants to. What else does it want to talk about?
Wants to talk about
the goodness of people.
Heroism and sacrifice, I guess. Like balancing heroism with sacrifice, martyrdom, I guess. But
being able
Superman
to
can't
accept
be a martyr.
A family as your family when they are not your born family, but your adopted family, because he chooses Earth over Krypton.
No, that's Superman. That's Superman the character. I'm talking about this movie.
Yeah, no, it wants to be talking about that.
But it's not, though.
No, it's not. It's not talking about anything, but it wants to be talking about those things. It doesn't talk about... This movie has nothing to say.
Oh my God, look at this.
Because if you want to talk about, like... I mean, usually Superman's about being a fucking goody two-shoes, you know? Like, he always tells the truth.
That's not fair.
He always tells the truth, and he's always a good guy, right? But in here, like, he steals shit. Remember that scene? He steals some stuff.
He steals some clothes. He's walking around all buff and half naked.
In his Wolverine time.
And in the Wolverine part of the movie. And he steals some clothes out of the back of a truck. And they don't even talk about the morality of steal. I mean, not that they don't necessarily have to, but in a story about trying to...
I don't think Superman would do that.
I don't think he would either.
I don't think he'd take clothes off somebody's clothesline.
I don't think he would either.
He screws up that guy's truck horribly.
Yeah, because he's petty.
Like, there's all sorts of stuff he does in this movie that's like, Superman wouldn't do that. He's kind of mean to people in general. He's not really, like, his relationship with his mom and dad, which have always been, like, such an important part of the Superman story, kind of is just uncomfortable in this movie.
Yeah. Well, I mean, part of it is because Paul Kent is so terribly written. Like, he's written as a coward. Like the level of paranoia that he has and that he exudes.
It's impressive to be written as a coward when you sacrifice yourself too.
Oh yeah. That's a conflict of character that will never mesh at all for him ever. No matter how you slice it. But like to learn that this version of Paul Kent is like a conspiracy theorist doomsday prepper would not surprise me at all. And nothing can prepare you for doomsday. Nothing.
Anyways, this movie wants to talk about stuff, but it doesn't talk about anything. And what I was trying to say is that Zod in that scene is talking about like he is this person because he was born into this role and he has no free will. Like, this whole thing is that he's going to keep killing and killing forever, and Superman will never be able to change what he's doing. He's going to keep doing this because he has no free will. So that's what I'm saying about it. Like, do any of the Kryptonians have free will then, since we're assuming that the reason he thinks he has no free will is because he was born artificially into a place in society, because they keep talking about the family lines that they're going to continue, right?
Well, yeah, and they talked earlier about like the different jobs that
right.
you're born into. Like, some people are born,
and so I'm saying, do you have free will?
Yeah.
Do they have free will or not? And that's why I was saying that I felt like maybe Jor-El and his wife didn't want to be saved because they were part of a society that was broken and couldn't be fixed because none of them were born with free will.
I would say
but that doesn't make sense because they clearly have free will because they break the law. So
yeah, clearly they do. I mean, if they can break the law and have a natural birth and send their son to another planet, then they have free will because that's what they just did.
But I feel like they gave up on themselves.
And if you're born a soldier like Zod probably was, and you stage a coup, I would say that staging a coup, as he does, is a sign that you're
also
enacting
free will.
Yes, exactly.
So it doesn't make any sense what he's saying to Superman in this scene because he staged a coup. So obviously he can make choices. And I just remembered there is a scene where Jor-El says something to Superman about like about how him and his wife were part of the problem. They were part of the problem, he said. They didn't want to be saved. They didn't want to get off that planet. That's why they only sent Superman away. They wanted everybody to die. They did. I know you think I'm crazy for saying this, but that's how this movie reads.
Yeah, I mean,
he says that they were part of the problem.
Which makes them no better than Zod, because
right.
they're choosing, like, their issue with Zod was that he was kind of space Hitler. Like, he was,
I mean, it makes Zod kind of a better person than them.
Yeah, because at least Zod was allowing more than one bloodline to continue, I would assume.
Right. They're allowing none of them to continue,
only
except for theirs.
Only theirs. Exactly.
Wow, they're really shitty then.
Yeah.
They're way shittier than Zod.
And if they, like, and that's the thing is that if they knew, man, I don't know why I didn't think of this before. That's a really good point. Zod knew that Zod agreed with Jor-El that the planet was going to explode. He was one of the only people that agreed with him, and none of the High Council agreed that they needed to do anything about it. And Jor-El himself even told the High Council, "It's too late. We need to send our codex."
Which is always unbelievable. Always unbelievable in this story that this high-tech society could not figure out that day they were going to explode.
Right. I would say that Jor-El, if Superman had not been in the picture, Jor-El would probably still say the same thing, and no bloodlines would continue, but they would send the codex off to carry the collective knowledge of their society with another civilization, probably, right? So they know of another place, or maybe there are Kryptonians out there somewhere else that they know of that they tried to colonize. They talked about that a little bit. So they send that shit off and whatever. But Jor-El himself confronts Zod and he says, "So who gets to decide what bloodlines continue? You?" That's what he says to him.
No, it's you, Jor-El. No, that's okay. No, we meant you.
No, it's you, and
and only you.
Only you. And what you mean by continuing bloodlines and you choosing is that just your son son lives. That's it.
So a bunch of stuff that we missed. Apparently there's a Be Calm and Call Batman sign as an Easter egg in the scene where
really?
Zod's doing the laser eyes on the family and he's going to kill him.
I know the satellite that I think he just crashed said like Wayne Enterprises or something.
The one that they fight on and destroy.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
That's the one that says Wayne Enterprises.
What do you think about them extras just standing and staring and not screaming or moving or anything?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
It's called directing, Zach. It's kind of your...
It's not... The D doesn't stand for dicking around.
It's kind of your job title.
So this character here who's smiling because she thinks that Superman is hot, is kind of hot. She's called Carrie Ferris, and fan theory is that's a reference to Carol Ferris, which is the longtime love interest of Hal Jordan, the Silver Age Green Lantern.
Don't care about
goes
this
by
nerdy shit.
Goes by Star Sapphire in some versions.
Shit is stupid.
As apparently a number of characters do. Star Sapphire, isn't that great? That's the kind of name I would have come up when I was about 11 years old. Crystal Heart, Danger Prism.
Look at fucking Henry Cavill. Look at his muscles bulging out of his shirt. How can anyone see this man with or without glasses?
What's up with this?
Especially in this version. I don't know. Hold on. And we've said this before, and not know that he's fucking Superman right away. Second thing, this fucking flashback to Clark as a little boy running around with a red cape on and striking the superhero pose. How would he know to do that without Superman mythology in his world? Like,
do superhero comics exist in Superman's childhood? Now, I have to say...
That's a really good question.
I have to say they do, though, because there is one of the buildings, another Easter egg. I've got to find it. Another Easter egg somewhere is a picture of a comic place. Oh, where is it? Blaze Comics. There's a picture. There's a sign on one of the buildings that's destroyed or near destroyed buildings that says Blaze Comics, which is a comic book publisher within the Superman universe that has something to do with Booster Gold.
Oh, okay.
A character that I know nothing about. Also, other random Easter egg stuff. Utopia Casino has a lot in here. Shows up.
We have to talk. The movie's just about over. We have to talk about the one thing that everyone has an opinion on, and we have to talk about it before this movie is over.
And LexCorp.
Okay. Is Superman breaking Zod's neck that big of a deal?
Oh, I guess we have to talk about it.
We have to talk about it. Is it that big of a deal? Superman kills.
I mean, doesn't he kill in other stories?
No.
Never? Superman never kills.
I mean, that's his code. That's part of the code.
I am sure there are some other comic books and stuff out there where Superman kills.
I'm sure that there has been at some point. Maybe there were some incidental deaths or something like that. But the Superman as a character is not supposed to. He doesn't kill like that. He doesn't, intentionally kill someone. But that's the thing that everyone takes away from this movie is, should Superman kill? Should he have broken Zod's neck? Because a lot of people think he shouldn't have. That kind of betrays the character of Superman. People who defend this movie and defend that choice say, well, Superman is not quite the Superman that we know him as yet, and that's at the point where he creates that rule for himself. The moment that he has to kill Zod is the moment that he says, I will never do this again. I can't do this.
Go ahead and say your point, and then I'll say mine. What do you think? Should he kill or no? Was it okay or not?
Okay. It's never bothered me. And here's why. Is it not kind of brave to force your hero with a code to break his own code?
Sure would create character if you had a character to do anything with.
Don't get me wrong. And that flows into my next point that I'm about to make. It is totally unearned. 100% unearned in this film. However, the choice itself to make your character who has a code, put him into a difficult situation where he is forced to break his own code, that's emotionally complicated. That's a complex idea. And I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. It's a dramatic device. That is drama. That makes for good drama, I think. In this movie, it's unearned. but I don't think it's necessarily a bad choice for Superman to have a moment where he does kill, and that's the moment that he decides that he shouldn't kill. And that should be his, the path he follows. That's how I feel about it.
Okay.
This movie's still a piece of shit. Don't get me wrong. But for that particular thing that people like to argue about, I don't know. Like I'm kind of okay with it.
I think that if what's the reason behind being upset about the Superman kill? If it's that, oh gosh, our Superman shouldn't kill people. Well, he has unintentionally killed so many goddamn people in this movie.
Well, exactly. And in this movie in particular, it's just
that, I mean, who fucking cares,
it's a
right?
fucking moot point. Like, yeah.
But also, like, yeah, I totally agree that, wow, that makes for a really interesting character moment to have a character that has a code that has to deal with. I mean, that's what season 2 of Daredevil is all about. It's all about him trying to deal with the Punisher who kills people, and he doesn't kill people, and trying to not kill people.
Yeah, it's about justice and vigilantism and legality and
right.
morals.
And there are moments where he's like, well, I could just kill one person, and they're like, no, bro, you kill one person and you're on my side. And that's, it's interesting character development.
Yep.
The reality of this movie is that there are it's like when my students come to me and they have a paper that's just, man, we are going to be doing some drafting on this. And they come to me and they're worried about like grammar or something. And it's just like, no, the problems that are here are so much larger and overall than this, then we aren't even going to talk about that. And that's how I feel like the Zod kill is to me in this movie. It's like, who the fuck cares that he kills Zod? The problems with this movie are so much bigger than that it doesn't matter.
That's a great point. And that is a really good point. If your takeaway from this movie is Superman shouldn't kill Zod, then you weren't paying attention to the right shit. You weren't paying
attention to the whole movie.
You didn't see the rest of the terrible shit that was going on.
Because there is so much else that is wrong with this movie that in the end, you want to make a better movie. You want to do a take 2 or 3 and then come back and have that scene, and then we'll have the discussion about whether or not. Don't come talk to me about these small points in your story when you haven't got a novel that's worth writing yet. Like,
yep.
Try again.
Well, I think that we've made our point pretty clear, our opinions pretty clear, don't you think?
Yeah, I really did want to talk about him, about his body and the way he looks. I won't go into it all, but man, for all like you've been bashing on him for it, he did some intense training for this.
Respect to the dude for working hard and looking like that.
And he refused any digital enhancement.
It's an incredible feat. I give him that. I think the choice to make a Superman look that way is, I mean, it's a product. It's a product of comic books post the crash of the comic book industry in the early 80s, when superheroes just started getting ridiculously big and superheroines started getting ridiculously huge-titted. Like comics from the late 80s and the 90s, you just look at some of those covers. They are insane. Just look at the era like that so much of this stuff is cribbing from of the death of Superman. The death and rebirth of Superman series of comics, that era of comic books is indicative of exactly the kind of comic book storytelling that I've always fucking hated. Just over the top, empty of themes, full of like these weird pulpy twists, no character, just kind of these shock moments that's like, can you fucking believe that we did this? How extreme. Like it is that kind of, it's a joke now, but it is the 90s extreme. It's so extreme. Wow. Mm-hmm. Fucking rollerblades, man. Mm-hmm. You know, that kind of shit. Yeah, I mean, Superman had a fucking mullet. He's halfway to a mullet in this movie. He had a mullet and chest hair, and he was ripped beyond belief. And you put that same man in a fucking suit and a pair of fucking thick horn-rimmed glasses, and he still looks like a professional wrestler. He just looks like an impossible human being. So, that's...
Bringing it back around to the topic for the month, Ben Affleck turned down directing this movie.
It would have been a better movie had he directed it. Affleck belongs behind the camera. He's made some really great movies. He really has. The Town is great. Gone Baby Gone is great. Argo is really good. I really enjoyed Argo. I don't think he's missed behind the camera yet. And he's missed in front of the camera a whole fucking lot. So, I mean, that should tell you something. But I've heard his Batman and Batman v Superman is good. That's probably what I'm looking forward to the most, if I'm looking forward to anything in that movie. But I'm just hearing terrible fucking things about it. So,
I mean, but I'm just saying it's interesting that he turned down directing this one and then went on to be in the next one.
they're saying that he's written a solo Batman movie. He's already got the script done for his solo Batman movie, if that's a thing that's going to happen now. But I mean, Snyder, I wouldn't be surprised if Snyder got shit canned from Justice League. And I mean, who knows? This thing is getting critically fucking panned. And it had the worst like second day drop off of any superhero movie to date. So
Man.
word of mouth is really affecting this thing. Like Warner Brothers had a lot riding on this, and I don't know that it's going to work out. Like the future's kind of hazy for the DC cinematic universe, but you know.
Well, I just, you know.
George Miller for Justice League. If you want to fucking salvage this thing, get a director behind the fucking camera. Fire Zack Snyder. I'm sorry. Like, I stood by that guy for way too long. I liked 300 a lot when it first came out. We haven't talked about Zack Snyder hardly at all. We're going to talk all the way fucking through these credits, aren't we? In a movie that's 2.5 hours long.
Well, we can't stop now. This is what happens.
I'm sorry. Zack Snyder, I used to defend Zack Snyder. I thought that he was a great visual artist. I liked the kind of stuff that he was doing. I felt his stuff was like appropriately pulpy and kind of a natural visual extension of what kind of Tarantino had brought back to storytelling. But that's way too much credit to give him now, obviously, seeing where he's kind of gone.
Oh, yeah.
Watchmen's okay. I haven't seen it in a while. 300 I liked when it first came out. I think in my memory, the only thing that I can say that he's done that I actually genuinely liked is the Dawn of the Dead remake. I think his Dawn of the Dead remake is a good fucking movie.
I think that's good, too.
Yep.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that.
But yeah, man, what the fuck? What the fuck, Zack Snyder?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, what the fuck?
He's not Michael Bay, not yet, but he's...
I get one more piece of trivia because you took too long.
All right, go.
Okay, last one is they hired a professor who's an expert in anthropology and linguistics to develop the Kryptonian language. And she developed an object, subject, verb, sentence structure. Which sounds super interesting, except that where the fuck is that language used in this movie?
I don't know. They don't use it at all.
So, I don't know.
Okay.
Whatever.
Cool. That's the same grammatical structure as Japanese, by the way. And Korean. Wait. Yeah, and
I
Korean.
can't speak for Korean.
Yep.
Yeah, but so really cool. Thanks for hiring somebody. Thanks for hiring a professor. Because we're busy
a professor
people.
like me. Yes.
I'm really a TA, guys, but I'm technically allowed to call myself a professor. Okay. Let's be done.
I'm done with this. I'm done. It's a shitty movie. I'm done. And we're done with World's Finest Month. Fucking done. Done. Okay? As always, you can find us on our website at popcornpoops.com. Please subscribe to us on iTunes and Stitcher. That's where you can get a show like this. They're not all this long, but I guess occasionally they are like this. You could follow us on Twitter at popcornpoops, or you can follow me at Dusty Cram Cram.
I'm at J. Casper Kramer.
You can also like us on Facebook, where you get updates about the show, including our weekly movie still identification game. We have a shop on our website where you can buy some shit and show your poo pride. You can also give us hard-earned cash straight up through PayPal. There's a donate button on the website if that's something that you want to do. But you can also sign up for a free trial at audibletrial.com/popcornpoops. You'll get a free audiobook that's yours to keep whether or not you keep your subscription after your trial has expired. Every single week on our show, we like to highlight a friend of the show that we affectionately call our Poo Pal. And this week, we would like to draw your attention to the As You Watch podcast. So stick around after the show for a few words from them. And if you are interested in becoming a Poo Pal, if you're some kind of online content creator, anything from a podcaster to webcomic artist, blogger, really anything, get in touch with us through our social media outlets or by emailing us at contact@popcornpoops.com, and we will talk to you about our Poo Pal program. Also, we don't have any reviews on iTunes, so if you want to leave us a review on iTunes or Stitcher that we can read on the show, that would be awesome, and we will definitely read them on the show no matter what you write. So,
but we like 5 stars.
We do like 5 stars, but we also
you kind of owe us if you make us say something stupid.
We encourage honesty. Next week we start a new theme Can you tell us what that theme is and why we're doing it?
I can. Next week, we start hashtag 1987 month because April is my birthday.
Happy birthday.
I'm going to be 29 on April 14th. So we're doing...
For the first time. This is your first 29th birthday.
Yeah. Why? Is that a thing?
Well, because next year will be your second 29th birthday.
Oh.
That's how that works.
Oh, is that how it works?
Yeah.
So is this your second 29th birthday this year?
This year it will be.
Okay. I gotcha. So we're doing all movies from my birth year, 1987. Starting off with my number one favorite movie of all time, which it's pretty amazing that we've never done before. Mm-hmm. Pretty amazing because this is my favorite movie ever. And of course, I'm talking about Rob Reiner's adaptation of the William Goldman novel, The Princess Bride.
If you want to talk about this theme month before it happens, if you want to get hyped up about it and talk about it on social media, be sure to use the hashtag 1987 month. And that'll help us out a lot, and we'd appreciate it. So I hope you're looking forward to next week. New theme, new episode. Until then, take care.
Bye-bye.
We are the Popcorn Poops.
Hello, everybody. On behalf of Nick, Joe, and Vern, we would like to invite you back for a brand new season of the As You Watch podcast.
On our upcoming season, we will be talking about franchises, trilogies, and series of movies that you will recognize and some that you may not.
We will also continue to post fun and insightful interviews with many people in the world of entertainment, as well as feature a lot of great guests from other sites and podcasts.
So be sure to check us out on iTunes, Stitcher Radio, Podomatic, and on Facebook.
And don't forget to check out our older episodes on our site, asyouwatch.wordpress.com.